No Smithfield Town Council meeting, August 5th, 2024. Madam Clerk, can you start us with the prayer and the pledge?
Thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in fruitful outcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara? Mr. Osier?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
Yes. Open forum, non-agenda items only pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum 3 minutes per person. Anyone like to sign up for open forum? Yeah, agenda items are at the end. It's always been that way. Well, it's always been that way. Anyone like to sign? Yeah, I'm just asking if anyone else wants to sign up for our open forum. All right, Mike, 3 minutes.
Mike Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road. I wanted to raise a point of order regarding tonight's agenda. I don't believe that it meets the definition of the OMA law, and that is Article under New Business, Section 8B. It says discussion by council vote or other action on award of bid, North Smithfield High School parking lot, Allen CP. That is very misleading in that that's not the area that's going to be repaved. It's referred to in the bid bond document that was provided by the bidder as the description of contract to which bid pertains, and its design and engineering services of parking lot expansion of Paul Joyce Athletic Complex. It's not the high school parking lot. I was at a meeting the other night with some friends, and one of them said, oh, they're repaving the parking lot at the high school. And I said, they just did that not long ago. Why would they be redoing it again? And they said, I don't know, but that's what it said on the agenda. And when I looked at the agenda, it did say that, North Smithfield High School parking lot. So I question the legality of that. I don't think it meets the full definition of the OMA law, which is that the people are supposed to understand exactly what the action is that you're taking. And you're not taking an action on the award of a bid for the North Smithfield High School parking lot. You're taking action on expanding and paving the parking lot at the Paul Joyce Athletic Complex, and that's how it should have read in the ad. So I know I can't ask, but I'd like to hear from the solicitor, because I am going to file a complaint with the Attorney General tonight if you do move forward on that action or take any action on it. And I want to be able to say it was willful and knowingly done, because you've got the opportunity now to ask the solicitor for a ruling on this. And if you're forewarned and you still go ahead and do it, then I think I can prove willful and knowing violation of the law.
Mrs. Solicitor?
It's pulled from the agenda anyway.
I'm sorry?
You pulled that from the agenda anyway.
I'm sorry. I just been informed by the finance director that the matter is being continued off the agenda anyway.
Okay. Did we all know that?
No, he just told me that just now.
Why did just Mr. Biragad know about that?
I don't have any idea. I just was told this 2 minutes ago.
Okay. There's your answer.
Well, it's not my answer, but
No,
it's a technique.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to sign up? Sorry.
Oh my, we started a trend.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, sir, you want to just state your name and your address?
Thank you, Counselor. Douglas Haddon, 163 great road, resident of North Smithfield for almost 30 years now. I read with some disconcern and feelings the town administrator, town manager issue, and I don't think that was adequately displayed or portrayed on the documents ahead of time of that. It wasn't clear what that was on the agenda item. I think that's only one of other things I could point to that are not adequately displayed, written out. The exact same point that Mr. Clifford brought up before, that would not, as a former 30-year reporter, that would do not comply with open meetings laws. And, you know, I should be able to walk in here and get an agenda printed out. All right, then, pardon me, thank you. But I also, when I went online and tried to find this in clerk base, it's a blank page. Yesterday, it displayed this, but it's nothing like what we used to call the council packet that had the details, the numbers, you know, the addresses, the pertinent people involved. This is just vague stuff, and you know, I don't think it complies. It would not pass scrutiny under the open meetings statutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you put your,
10 o'clock the morning of the meeting, it will be on clerk base, the agenda and all attachments.
I tried to do it all day today. I was just going to page.
If you ever have a problem, call me and I will check with them, but usually they're very good about getting it on time.
And Joanne, just to point off too, that there was a banner across all pages on the website that linked to specifically the charter amendments as well and advertised the public hearing. So just about the website piece, it was out there, and if there was technical difficulties, then to look at that further.
It was also in the newspaper, the Valley Breeze, the website, the newsletter.
I read the article in the Ballot and I went to the link from the Valley
Mm-hmm.
to no avail. And last night, the sketch of it, but today, blank. Last night,
Yeah.
today,
Well, feel free to call if you have that problem, but we always have a hard copy in the office if you'd like. And it was on the website, so.
I appreciate the accommodation, but it wasn't from, this is not the first time I
Thank you. Mr. Ozowski?
Gary Ozowski, 88 North Main Street. Pardon me for being so befuddled, but my intention was to speak on item 7D. And are you saying that the procedure is that we can't speak to those items, or that we'll have opportunity when the issue comes up?
You have opportunity at the end of the agenda. It has open forum for agenda items only, and it's been like that for quite some time.
Okay, so we learn of an action that's to be taken,
Madam President, I think he said 7B.
7D,
D?
7G?
Oh, all right.
the reconsideration item that only became known since your last meeting. So there's no opportunity for us to comment at the last meeting, and now no opportunity to comment before you discuss it?
We had a meeting that was open to the public that night.
I understand that, but not with this issue, one of reconsideration. So your process leaves us in a circumstance where we're not allowed to speak, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Steve Byron?
Steve Byron, 2000 Province Pike. I'm just wondering why the EDC request for put out for bid for the RFP wasn't on the agenda tonight. Did you people get in your packet the information about that? I left it at the last meeting. I gave you my copy to make copies for them. I asked if it would be, could put on the next agenda.
You did.
No, you didn't get it.
Steve, can you just send me an email to remind me, and then I'll forward it to Joanne to make sure that it's on the next agenda with
Now
the.
I know why nothing gets done in this town.
That's someone else's line. Discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills. Is anyone make a motion to discuss the payment of bills?
No problem.
Anyone have any questions on them?
I had one quick question. Tony, line item 13, line item 19, and maybe it's just, there's not enough description, but it's the same dollar amount, same vendor numbers for vision, same account numbers, same invoice numbers. There's a couple of them like that. I'm just curious, I mean, a couple of them like under the tax collector. I'm just curious, are those actually separate invoices, split, or are they just duplicates added into the payment of bills? So the first one was line 13 on the first page.
Yeah,
and
they're both
line-
on, so 13, 19, and those are the only two you're questioning?
Yeah,
Yeah. Let me look it up just to make sure, but that shouldn't be, I think it's just a duplicate in the report itself.
okay, and then the other one is the same thing, I think. So on line 33 and 34, it's for North Smithfield tax assessor, collector. Same invoice number, same accounts, same everything. It's for $137.99 and $233.13, but it appears again on lines 42 and 43. Those may be separate, I just want to make sure.
So may I ask, you're referring to the sewer use on 83 Green?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's not
Yeah, I was
duplicated.
looking at that also. There's several of them for 83 Green. I just didn't know.
Yeah, it's the breakdown of the
just how it's-
sewer use and sewer assessment by department. So
Okay.
the dollar value might be the same depending on how many people are in that department.
Okay.
So that's how we divvy it up, the sewer use
Okay.
for the, but I'm gonna look at the vision real quick.
The vision one for the 7,000,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
one I
yeah.
was more focused on.
Just give me a second to log on, but as far as the sewer use though,
Yeah,
I
that
had
makes
looked at that
sense.
specifically. That's how we divvy it up, depending on the building and how many people are in each department.
Right, yeah.
So you're checking that right now?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I just want to make sure that I'm just making sure it wasn't a duplicate, because I know. What's for sewer? Okay, yeah, it's not a duplicate. So one's for the tax collection software, and one is for the tax admin software. Give me 1 second, I can pull up. They get split out differently into 3 different ways. I don't have the specific invoice, the visual in front of me, but we break it down by percentage, and that bill ends up getting broken down the same amount for both sides. So, I could always scan it and send it to the council afterwards if you wanted to, but
Okay,
that's how it gets broken down. It's not a duplicate.
okay, thanks. I have no other questions.
Anyone else have any other questions? Nope. Anyone make a motion to accept the bills?
Make a motion to pay 2023-24 bills in the amount of $788,921.83, and to pay the 2024-2025 bills in the amount of $563,016.94.
I'll second.
That's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And the next item number we can actually skip because there is no consent agenda on this agenda. The next one is North Smithfield Town Council sitting as Board of Licensing, dinner under the stars at the Beef Barn, looking for a one-day full liquor license. Mr. Osier?
Yeah, so I'll turn this over to Mr. Keene to kind of take the lead on this. But essentially, what they're looking for is we'll call it an expansion, but they have beer and wine now, and they want to increase it for one night only. In talking to David, I believe we may have to table this to the next meeting just for the vote, because we want to make sure we get it procedurally correct around, the granting of it and such. But I'll turn it over, they can fill in more and go from there.
Good evening, Rich Keene, 7 Bamford Street, President of the North Smithfield Heritage Association. This year, we're co-sponsoring the Dinner Under the Stars with the North Smithfield Parks and Recreation Commission. It's being hosted once again by the Beef Barn. The Beef Barn has offered to provide a cash bar for the event, but they only have a beer and wine license. And so what we're asking is for the council to approve a one-night license, full liquor license, so that they can provide a full cash bar.
Will they have the appropriate insurance for that, seeing as how they don't have that now? Will they have to be obtaining that, or will we have the liability of the increased?
Well, I don't want to get into some liability. Is, I'm not an expert. I'm sure the solicitor would probably be able to answer that better, but my understanding of liability is we're all going to be liable to some extent for whatever happens at this event. So this is the fourth or fifth one that? Fifth one. And it's, there's been a liquor, a full cash bar at the previous ones, and we haven't had anything. I can say that the Heritage Association is taking out an event rider, insurance rider, to increase our liability for the event. But
Yeah, I was just curious, as other locations, it was on Pound Hill Road, right at the Green Farm.
Yes.
And I would imagine.
It was at Goodwin's Farm as well.
And at Goodwin's, right. So I imagine either they or we, as the town, as a co-sponsor, would have to provide some kind of insurance rider that would, I'm sure you can sue anybody anytime, but, just to be procedurally correct, I would think. Would that, Mr. Solicitor, be your opinion?
Comment on is that Beef Barn, if they're going to take the license, they'll have to either one of two things, right? There is a provision in law that allows an expansion of an existing liquor license during the season without a public hearing, without public notice. But expansion is normally interpreted as location, like from inside to outside.
Right.
But we're being asked to not only expand location, but to expand liquor capacity, because you're going from beer and wine to full bar. I'm going to check with the Liquor Control Administrator. I suggested to the VP that we can either check, and either on the 19th of August, if we can avoid a public hearing with notice and advertisement, it can go back on your agenda as an expansion without notice and advertisement. If it requires an advertisement to go from a beer and wine license to a full liquor license, it's going to require notice, 14 days notice, and notice to all advertisement 14 days, and notice to all the butters within 200 feet. So whether it's one day or not, that's a requirement. And the person who's going to have the license, they're going to have the appropriate liquor dram shop liability, that's liquor license liability insurance in place. They're going to have the proper training, because the people have to be responsible if someone leaves that location under the influence. That's where the liability is. So it's a one-day event, it's a great event, but it doesn't change the liquor liability associated with it.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
And that's all state law. The council has, the council is sitting as a licensing board for the state of Rhode Island right now. You're not sitting as a town council. So you're operating under state law only.
Thank you.
President? So
I know for a fact, I was very much involved with getting this started, and I know for a fact that, that the liquor, the bar, is the food, we're working on, they're working on razor-thin margins here. So without the money generated from the revenue from the bar, it's almost actually a losing proposition, and it'd be impossible to pull off. You really need that liquor license in order to come out ahead at all, because you don't make any money on the food, and you don't make any money on anything else.
We're actually not planning on making any money.
We never did.
We're trying to break even. So actually, the beef barn would be operating the cash bar as
Right.
as the beef barn. They would keep the proceeds and whatever they pay the bartender and whatever expenses are
So
associated.
the money from the bar doesn't go to the, doesn't go to
No,
pay for?
so the ticket proceeds will pay for the chef, and it'll pay for the musician. And with that, we should break even.
Because the Heritage Association is now financing the dinner.
I'm sorry, could you speak in there? I didn't hear what you said. The Heritage Foundation is what?
Yeah, Kate Pasquarello, 167 Pomona Street. Yes, the Heritage Association is now financing this event.
With the ticket sales.
Okay. So it's, as Mr. Biragad said, then razor thin, it's not really, it's not a fundraiser.
No,
It's not.
It's a
fundraiser.
community event.
It's a community
period.
event,
It's a
exactly.
community event we brought about in 2019,
Yeah.
along with the fireworks,
Mhm.
the Kids' Day that we do over at Pacheco on the same day. We were trying to build a sense of community, and those really are the three events that have stuck over the years.
Okay. So this is gonna come back on the agenda then? Okay.
On the 19th, without notice and advertisement, it'll come back on the 2nd of September with notice and advertisement, because it requires 14 days.
Okay.
Well, the event is going to be held on September
Yeah.
7th. So if it's with advertisement, then it would be. no.
September 7th is the event. September 2nd is the next council meeting, after the 19th.
Well, no.
What do you think? You had to-
But didn't you say
After
2
that.
weeks advertisement?
From
2 weeks advertisement.
2 weeks would be, so the reason why it can't be the next Monday is it would be 2 weeks from today. So
Okay.
the 2 weeks would be the 20th or the 21st. So in theory, we could hold a meeting sooner.
Hold a special
but
meeting if you want,
If
if
we
you,
wanted
that
to, but
determination.
We just can't.
Council
do
wants to
the
do
15th,
that, we could do
14th
that.
day by state law.
Okay,
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Old business discussion by council vote, other action on status/progress report of specific items. Mr. Osier, Facilities Manager?
Yeah, so I have, I have something to share, so I'll share it the next meeting, since there's enough on the agenda here. So
Okay.
I'll make sure that's in the packet for next week.
Okay. Grants, Ms. Hamilton?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the administrator about the Senior Services Support Grant, continuation of the discussion we had the last time. Were there bids that went out for that, and who was involved in the actual putting together of what we were looking for?
Yes, Assistant Planner Bobby Monahan went out to bid, received 2 bids. The lowest of the bids was selected to purchase the furniture.
There weren't 3 bids?
No, it's 2 to my knowledge.
2, and then, so who did we buy it from, finally? Wasn't it Wayfair?
That's correct.
Okay, did Wayfair bid on it?
I believe so, yep. Went out to also one of the, I don't want to mention, well, it was the office supply, it's escaping me right now. Mason,
WB Mason?
yes.
Okay, and, okay, I just want to, could you double check on that, just to make sure that Wayfair did actually do that? And was anyone else besides yourself involved in choosing that furniture?
Oh, I didn't choose the furniture.
Oh, okay. Do you know who did?
Oh, I believe the assistant planner and Mrs. Tebow.
Mrs. Tebow? Okay. And can you tell us why it's over $5,000 and we didn't get it brought to us as an expense?
Well, it was money that, of course, was grant money, and it was going to expire. The term use it or lose it applies here. So it was purchased, the tables fold, and the chairs do not fold, but there, as you know, they're all, you took an inventory over at the police station, so.
No, I didn't take an inventory. That was the other thing I wanted to do, is ask you if there has been an inventory of the
Oh,
items.
I was told you went over and counted them.
No, I went
No?
over to see them and took pictures.
Oh, okay.
And they were in the gymnasium, they weren't on the second floor.
No, originally they were gymnasium, but the chief thought it best to put it downstairs in the
Yeah.
gymnasium area.
Yeah. So, do you know why the $5,000 limit wasn't brought back to us? Even if it's a grant, it's supposed to come to us. Do you know what happened? I don't know if
I
the
do not.
finance director knows.
No.
It was purchased on the town debit card, so if it had been purchased through as a requisition and a purchase order and an invoice was created, it would have went through the payment of bills. So due to the time.
No, not the payment of bills necessarily, but bring it to us that it was an over $5,000
Yeah.
limit,
So-
right? So,
You wanna let me finish?
I don't think we can go out and buy whatever we want on a credit card if it's over $5,000, regardless of where the money comes from, right?
Are you looking for something, or?
No, I was waiting for her to let me finish. So, it was due to it being a timely manner and the funds needed to be used. It was an oversight that we had occurred. It went through the debit card. If it had gone through the normal procedures of a purchase order, it would have been put on the town council agenda. It would have been approved normally.
So it's a violation of the charter again, with no consequence.
What do you mean, again?
Well, I believe everyone in this room, everyone watching remembers how I wanted to make sure what the limit was before any purchases could be made, so we're consistently applying
Right.
the rules, right? I thought it was $1,000, and I went crazy for 2 weeks, and then finally we realized it had been changed to 5,000, and it was now codified, right? So,
Right.
I guess my question is, how are we allowing, regardless of the circumstances, how are we allowing rules to be broken and justifying them by saying it was an oversight?
Due to the timeliness of the needing to use the funds before it ran out as of June 30th, and then being purchased through the debit card, that was how. So, again, we apologize for it not being put on the agenda. It won't happen again.
Oh, but it could. Really, see, that's the problem. It can, because there's no policy, there is a policy in place that's being violated, and there's no consequence for the egregiousness of that. So, I'm disappointed, very disappointed. I'm not sure that I agree with the fact that you lose it or use it. I think proper planning could have provided an opportunity to get it to us in a more timely manner, so we didn't have to go and do a Wayfair. Not that I don't like it, I think it's probably a good company. But it's just another example of things being done without the town council being made aware, and I'm disappointed that we're not following our own procedures. So, just for the record.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just a little confused. So how much was the grant for?
It's about $8,000 was remaining.
So the money that was put on the card was reimbursed to the town through the grant?
That's correct.
And if you didn't spend the money from the grant, we would have lost it and we wouldn't have had anything.
That's also correct.
What am I missing here? What's the problem?
Well, I think what we're missing is that we had the grant for a year, and we could have planned on spending it and bringing it to the council with the proper procedures, but we didn't. So it's just another opportunity for us to violate our own laws, and I think I'm pretty tired of
It's not a
it.
violation.
The
They
violation
get
is,
the money back.
no, the violation,
reimbursement
it
through the
doesn't
grant.
matter where
It's
the
still an
money comes
expense over
from.
$5,000.
It's an
Yes, it
expense
is.
over $5,000.
You had to pay the
It's a
credit
grant.
card, correct? You had to pay the credit card, right? Oh, debit card, okay,
Debit.
so that's a bill, right? That, you spent money.
And you were reimbursed for that money as well. through
Yeah.
the grant.
It's still, you
yeah.
went above and beyond and spent money that you shouldn't have spent.
I disagree.
The
Well, we can all
reimbursement
understand.
isn't the issue, it's the expenditure without coming to the council, regardless of what it is. I mean, it could have been jelly beans that somebody bought, but we should be made aware of these things,
So
so.
if they didn't spend that money,
Mhm.
if they didn't use the grant,
Mhm.
then we would have nothing, but instead they used the grant.
Mhm.
We have the furniture that will be put to good use at one point in time.
No, I kind of
It's sitting.
disagree on that too, but that's another issue, but I'm just saying.
But it costs us zero.
But procedurally,
But it costs us
we
zero.
violated, I don't care about the cost, we violated our own procedures.
No, I don't see we did. They didn't spend any money.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Human resource position, what's the update?
It's been posted
Where?
on the website
That's it?
and Indeed.
And what?
Indeed.
I'm sorry.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
how long is it, I understand
okay.
that, thank you.
I don't know how many times
How
I've
long has
said
it been posted?
I had it posted today.
Today?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this has been since July 1st that it's been approved,
Correct.
and we just got around to it today?
I just got around to it today. Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Municipal Building Review Task Force. So we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. We had a presentation from Eric Ami, and he also went over the specifics of the options he was offering. And then we have to plan another meeting once that we have a deadline or a timeline from him. That would be it. Discussion by council vote or other action on proposed amendments to the North Smithfield Town Charter for ballot placement at the November 5th, 2024 general election. Mr. Osier?
Yep, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. So, I guess we'll begin with the continuation of the public hearing. Just high level, since we last met, we made sure to really advertise it. As the clerk had mentioned, you know, it was in the Valley Breeze, it was on the website. You know, in the newsletter, it got promoted. And then we simplified the way that it reads and removed some of the additional explanations around there. that language could be either added back in, if we so choose. I think it's in the packet, it should be. And/or it could be used in advertising and other material. But it was reviewed by general code, and they didn't see any issues with it. David and I worked on it pretty extensively since then, taking back some of that feedback. And so I'll just turn it over to the public hearing, and we can go from there.
You want a motion?
Want to make a motion to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue open the public hearing.
We have a mo-
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Anyone like to speak on the public hearing? Mr. Vadney?
Paul Vadney, 31 Greenwood Street. It's funny that Mrs. Hamilton was just making that comment about procedures, we need to follow our laws, because we're going down the same road that we went down in December of 2015 and January of 2016, with the council pushing an amendment to go forward with the town manager, to have a question put out there for a town manager. At that time, I spoke to the council, I came to a public hearing, spoke to the council and said, we cannot do that. Reason being is, have you read your own charter? Your own charter, under Article 16, general provision says, amendments to this charter shall be made in the manner provided by the Constitution of the state and Article and Amendment, Article 23, Section 8. And when you go to that section of the state Rhode Island general law, it states that, it tells you how to create a charter commission if you want to create a charter. That's Section 6 of Article 13. Section 7 says adoption of charters, which tells you that within 1 year from the day of the election of the charter commission, the charter framed by the commission shall be submitted to the legislative body. And amendments to the charter says the legislative body of any city or town may propose amendments to a charter, which amendment shall be submitted for approval in the same manner as provided in this article of adoption. The manner of adoption is a charter commission. You're not following your own charter and your own state laws when you're trying to make this amendment. You need to create a charter commission to review your charter. Even if it's only for these two questions that you want to put out there. I'm not even going to weigh in on my position on either one of them. It's been well stated in the past. But you need to look at your whole charter when you're doing this, because as you've noticed in some of your language shows, there's a lot of different changes if you want to change that one section. I can show you what they are, but you need to look at the whole thing though, because your charter right now has provisions and language in the charter that are outdated, redundant, in conflict with state law, in conflict with your own charter from one to the other, and it doesn't even comply with your current practice. So if you're going to go through this and make amendments, you need to follow the state law, which says you need to have a charter commission. You can't send this resolution to the state to put on a question. You didn't even create a charter commission to review your charter, which is what state law says, which is what your own charter says. So you're not following your own law in this case, which you just set the table for me saying we need to follow our own laws. Our own laws say we need to create a charter commission to amend our charter by state law. And you've done that. Like I said, we did that in 2015 into 2016. Ms. Alves was on the council, Mrs. Valencia was on the council when you created a resolution creating a charter commission. So you've been through this before, and you sidestepped the biggest issue to this whole thing, not following our own charter and the state law.
Okay.
So I think that any other further discussion on this is a moot point, because you skipped the first big step of this whole thing.
I'm going to ask the solicitor to weigh in, because we did at length discuss this matter, and I know especially when it first came up 2 years ago when I was looking to form a charter review commission, and the council decided after numerous attempts to try to do so that the council would serve as the charter review commission. There was nothing preventing that from occurring.
Right.
But I'm going to let the solicitor weigh in on this matter.
And I have great respect for Mr. Vadney, he knows that, but the Supreme Court has ruled on this matter, and they've held specifically that the Constitution of Rhode Island provides that the governing body itself and alone may propose amendments as it sees fit.
Right.
Yes, you can have a proposal to do a charter commission to review your charter. You have that right. You should do it on occasion, but nothing prevents any local town council from saying, I want to put an amendment directly on the ballot. The legislative body has that authority. The only time a charter commission, we're getting a little side of the field, has that sole authority is the first time you create a charter. That's the only time, because they're elected by the people.
So why does our charter say that amending the charter shall be in the same way that you amend a charter by state law? When state law says that, and you were the solicitor back then when they created that charter commission, and now we're getting a different opinion?
Nope, the opinion's exactly the same. Charter commissions may be created, you have that right, and you may do that. You do not need to do that.
It's not a shall.
And it's a may, and it is pursuant to the Supreme Court case in 2009 at 973 Atlantic 2nd, 607. It's the law of Rhode Island, the controlling law. They're interpreting that exact section, which is Article 13, Section 8. I'm satisfied with the Supreme Court ruling.
I think we're not following our charter. Charter says it's done in the same manner as provided in the state constitution. The
Right.
state constitution says charter commission. I think,
Yeah, we're not going to go back and
I
forth.
don't
We're
think
going with
you-
our solicitor.
I don't think you're following your charter.
Okay.
It's not the first time either, but in this case, you're not following the charter. We brought to your attention before, and again this time, it's not brought to
And
the
we've spoken to
attention.
the solicitor. Anyone else like to speak for the public hearing?
Joey Savigny, 1790 Pound Hill Road. I agree with Paul. There's no need to rush into this. let's set a charter commission. There was something I asked for that the budget committee requested with the town administrator giving his budget to budget committee that was supposed to be put on the charter change. It was brought up the first time this came out, and that seemed to get overlooked. I think put a charter commission on, let them look at everything, and let them bring it forward. And let's not rush into this.
Anyone else like to speak?
Thank you, Madam President. We're in the political season where we hear talk of October surprise.
Can you state your name and address one more time?
I'm sorry, thank you. Douglas Haddon, 163 Great Road, resident since 1996. We hear October surprise is a phrase we hear in these political seasons. This is like a dog days of July and August surprise. There hasn't been adequate discussion on this. There hasn't been public, in my opinion, input on this. The niceties of the charter, they may not apply, but we know there has not been adequate discussion on this by the public or consideration. You are changing the form of government, and you are taking the councils, elevating the council to like a legislative and executive body. You may remove the person who's your designated town manager with or without a vote. You know, that's a lot of power. And there needs to be discussion of that, and people at large need to be aware of this. And this is rushed. This is, to me, this would be not a good thing to do. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Steve Byron, 2000 Providence Pike. I have a question for the solicitor in regards to the Supreme Court case. Does that hold also true for the legislature? So, in other words, right now they're talking about having a constitutional convention. Is the state constitution in the same category as the town charter?
No, the state constitution is the state constitution, the town charter is the town charter, and the case I referred to only applies to cities and town charters.
Okay. So a town charter really isn't a constitution of the town. It's just a wording.
It is the governmental document of the town. There's only two constitutions in this country, the United States Constitution and the 50 states.
But in essence, it's the same thing. You're just using a different word. Okay.
But that's okay.
Anyone else like to speak?
Mike Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road. I spoke about this the last time. I'm going to reiterate my feelings on this. First of all, you know, I do agree it's too haphazard. I don't like the idea of one council person and the solicitor drafting the language. I think it needs community input, needs to be bounced around, look at more than one charter to come up with the proper language, and really study the language and tear it apart. And just looking at this, we didn't have the language up on the screen last time, and I hadn't looked at it before the meeting. But now that I do have the language, I don't even understand the basic. I mean, one thing is that the appointment and qualifications. The town council, by a majority vote of the total membership, shall appoint a town manager for an indefinite term and fix the manager's compensation, period. The manager shall have, at a minimum, comma, a bachelor's degree, comma, a master's degree in public administration, or its equivalent is preferred. So, you know, and then it goes on, comma, at least 5 years experience spent as a senior manager. It's very confusing to me because I can't even understand, okay, what's the floor here? Is the bachelor's degree the floor? Or is the master's degree in public administration or its equivalent the floor or preferred? It's saying it's preferred, but it seems to me it should have been written with a comma, a period after have a minimum of bachelor's degree, period. And then master's degree in public administration or its equivalent would be preferred, would be the common language that you'd understand what the language is. I'm still not sure what this actually reads like to the average person or legally. So I have an issue with that. I also have an issue with the fact that there is no screening committee here, and it's simply an appointment of the town council. And in the past, we put up proposals that didn't have a screening committee, and the complaint from the residents was, there's no screening committee. I don't want the 5 council people to make the decision solely. I want it to be filtered so that they can't just do a political appointment with someone who meets minimum standards. So I think that's sorely missing in this document, and it should be here. And I do think there's some value in having definitely there's some value in having a charter commission serve to redo this language and pick it apart, as I said, because I don't think you've done anywhere nearly the amount of research that any past charter commission has done when they drafted this language. I mean, I know what the commission did the 2 times I served on it, and we looked at a lot of charters, and I don't know how anybody had the time to do all of that one person, job in this short period of time when this just came up. And there are other things, there's other language in this charter, this revision that I really don't think is quite clear and I think is questionable. Even the term, an indefinite term, do you really want an indefinite term? Can you legally sign a contract for more than 3 years for employment? Or I don't know if that's true or not, because there used to be a law that you couldn't extend a contract beyond the length of its last, of the quickest, the member who was resigning or up for a re-election last. So, and I don't know if you really want it to be an indefinite period of time, or do you want it to be a 3 or 5 year period of time? What's common? So we don't know that because we don't have samples and copies of other charters in front of us to make those distinctions. But I'm not comfortable with the language. I think the other thing is too, it really was just put up last time, very frequent, not too long ago. And I don't think we should make a practice of putting it up every single time. That we don't get the answer that we wanted. And I do agree that we need an appointed town manager. I just don't agree with the process that's being followed right now. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Anyone else? Do you want to close the public hearing?
Yeah, if there's nobody else that wishes to speak, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Are you going to the next one?
Yeah, we can continue the
All right, so
conversation.
the next
in
one is approval of proposed amendments.
So like I said at the last meeting, I know I'm sponsoring it, I'm one person. People can vote how they want. I think I've heard from a lot of people over the last 2 years that there needs to be a movement to a town manager position. I've listened to people, I've heard people, I have done a lot of research. I'll let people say what they want to say about it being rushed. There's been a lot of research that went into this. A lot of time over the last 2 months with David and going into it, general code looked at it, I say it's time to put it back to the residents to vote. If people on the council don't feel comfortable doing that, then by all means vote your conscience and vote no. I'm not going to take offense to it. But I think in today's day and age, you are seeing a movement away from administrator to manager, and I think it's in large part due to the complexities of running a town. We are fortunate from having 2 qualified people running this time around. There's not always a guarantee that you're going to have somebody run. It's happened before here. It happens in other communities. And then there's nothing stopping from those people or anybody who may want to run that has the qualifications from applying. I'll leave it up to that and see what anybody has any other comments. Some of the other language, like the indefinite, it's referenced in other charters as well. Similar qualifications are listed in other charters as well. But I'll leave it open to see what anybody else's thoughts are on the matter.
Anyone else have any comments?
Well, I'm just wondering, and I thank everybody who spoke too, because I think it's important that we hear what you have to say. I think that, we have talked about not having had an opportunity to let as many people know as we possibly could about this amendment. And Summertime is a tough time to do that. And then how do you do it? You put it on the website. Well, we did. We have banners across the website, and we have it on, you know, we've had several meetings, but, you know, not everybody comes to the meetings. There's a handful of people in the room, and there are 12,000 some odd of you sitting out there not knowing what the heck we're talking about, right? So I agree with that. Do I know how to fix that? Do I know the best way to get information out to people? I think we are always in a quandary, no matter what it is, that we're trying to get out, you know, whether it's a bond issue or it's very difficult to try to engage people on an issue that, you know, is of import to them, but how do we get that word out? We put an ad in the paper. We're trying the traditional methods, you know, whether we start on social media, do something like that. I think I've expressed before that I'd like to see more education about this, whether we approve it or not right now. I think we need to, I mean, if we approved it tonight, it would have to be certain that we would be able to try to let people know about what they're voting on in the most simplistic terms. People have busy lives. They don't have time to research on their own. They don't have time to go through everything. But so that when they get to the ballot box, or whatever they call it now, they're at least familiar enough with the concept of what they're voting on, and you know, to, like the town clerk had said, if anybody has any problems with anything, to please call her. I mean, I think we have to have more of a dialogue. I don't, you know, like, this to me is like deja vu when we went through the bond issue. Like, we sat and we sat and we sat and we said, where do we go? Do we go to Pumpkin Fest? Do we go to the sports, you know, locations? Do we hand out flyers? Do we have an ad in the paper? Do we put up a banner? I mean, these things are coming back to me now as a common issue that we run into all the time, trying to educate people to important issues that are going to impact them, right? I don't think anybody's trying to do a fast one. I don't think anybody is trying to push something through, because we're not pushing it through. What we're doing is we're pushing to the voters an opportunity to make a decision. If they choose not to change the form of governance, that's good. That's their choice. And we listen, and we honor it, and we move forward. But I think, in my opinion only, but I think we've had many discussions already. We've brought it to the attention. We've kind of bubbled it to the surface. People are actually starting to pay a little attention about their form of governance in their town. Maybe they don't want it to change. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I think we have an obligation now to at least bring it to the finish line and let the people tell us if they want it. And if they don't, that's the end of it. I mean, there's no cajoling or trying to help people. But I do think, and I agree with everyone that spoke, almost everyone, we need to do a better job at educating, making sure people are aware, so when they do vote on something, they feel comfortable that they have enough information to make an intelligent choice. That to me has always been paramount, no matter what we've done up here. And we do get accused of not doing everything fast, and that's probably true. And we do get accused of a lot of other things, and we're doing our best. But this is another opportunity to give the voters who have spoken to you, spoken to me, spoken to a lot of people about, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, well, here's a chance. But if you choose not to do it, please go to vote. Please express to us your concerns, and we will follow through with another form of government that we already have and try to make that better than it is already. So that's all I have on that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam President? I was going to talk about the let the people decide and all that stuff, but it's a little messy right now. I understand you did a lot of work. You did a lot of good work, a lot of honest work, but it's really not the way it should be done. We should go to I'll support a charter commission. Joey has a couple of issues he wants to put on the charter for review for a charter commission. It's just, we should slow it down a little bit, do it right, put a commission together. I'll support a commission, and then we can slow roll it a little bit and get it done right. Instead of having this, obviously, there's too much question. There were people in here that were for it, that got up and spoke, for a town manager, and then people against it, but they all agreed on one thing, that this isn't the way to go about it. Form a committee and let's do it right.
It's interesting now, John, that you say that, because I think you were against forming a charter review commission earlier, and I just feel like, it's becoming a political thing to say kick the can down the road, right? I mean, this is an election season, and too often do we kick the can down the road, and then we end up in the same situation we end up in. Like, we're talking again about the police station later on tonight for the 50,000th time. You know, by all means, if this fails, I do hope whoever's sitting in here next time around forms a charter review commission day one and blows up the whole charter and looks at it, because just like a lot of our ordinances, it's outdated. Mr. Vadnais is absolutely correct. There needs to be more done work to it. But these are the issues that I've heard over and over again for the last 2 years about things that need to change, and that's why I focused on them. You know, I wish the council had appeased the idea of a charter review commission, but there was no appetite for it, and so that's where we are now, is that there was no desire to form it. And if there was, who knows, maybe we would have had more and we would have ended up with the same language, but we have the opportunity to try to do something now, instead of assuming that any one of us are all going to be reelected back up here or sitting in this seat. And then the reality is in 2 years, people could say, yeah, we'll form a charter review commission, we'll look at it, and then nobody touches it. And then we've wasted an opportunity to potentially change something that should be worth looking at to change. And I have faith in the voters. If they want to vote on it and they think that it's best for the town, that's the direction it should go. If they so choose to vote it down, then like I said, I hope the next council picks up the charter review commission and continues the work done by the prior charter review commissions and looks to modernize our charter to current standards, current laws, et cetera.
Well, we're sitting here till December 1st, right? So if you want to enact a charter commission, they can already be seated by the time the next council comes along, if that's what you want to do.
Focus on tonight first.
May I just, one more thing, I think to everybody's point, you know, having additional issues that need to be addressed, and I agree, we have a very outdated, a very convoluted charter. It's not the only one in the state like that. It was written, you know, many, many years ago when we had 10 employees and the police were in the basement of town hall, right? So I think if you have too many questions on a ballot, you also run the risk that people don't even know what the heck they're talking about, what they're voting for. I think if you restrict it to a few, one or two that are very well defined, and you do education, I have to say I agree with you 1,000% if there is such a thing. The more education we get, the better it is for people, and I think focusing on specifics as opposed to opening up to 5, 6, 7 questions that are all probably equally as important and pertinent, but I think that can get confusing to on a ballot when you have all those questions. So I'm in agreement with you that whether it's this issue or anything else, I'd like to see fewer questions well done than a lot thrown together.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moving on to the next one, or?
Yeah, so do you want me to make a motion? So then I'll make a motion to approve, David, should I do them individually? So I'll make a motion to approve question 1, form of government, town manager, council, which the question reads, commencing on December 1st, 2028, shall the form of government. Yeah, I mean, if I make a motion to. For the approval of the proposed amendments, right? Yeah, so should I do them individually or collectively? Okay, yeah, so then.
May just before,
Yep.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
may I discuss something? So the question that Mr. Clifford had, I am a little confused about the town manager should have a minimum at a bachelor's degree, comma. Is it possible that that could be modified or changed, or is that too late now? I don't know. I think more clarity is better. Now, if we are accepting someone just with a bachelor's, okay. If we would prefer the other one, I mean, that would be my only question, because I think the thing that people have in mind is that they're worried about any council making it convenient for them to appoint someone that they want, and I don't want to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Not what you're saying, but that's what I hear from people.
So what do you
You know.
propose?
So I don't know, just a period instead of a comma.
So-
After, the town manager shall have at a minimum a bachelor's degree, period. A master's degree in public administration or its equivalent is preferred,
Yeah.
comma, at least 5 years' experience as a senior manager. So everything else to me, but, I mean, the educational qualifications do seem to be a little bit, just that period instead of a comma.
I'm fine with that. You can make that change, right? Do we need to vote on that change, David? So, you want me to make the motion?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to change the sentence that reads, under section 1, appointment and qualifications of Article 5, town manager. The town manager shall have at a minimum a bachelor's degree, period, in capital A, master's degree in public administration, so forth.
Okay, second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes,
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
thank you.
So pending no other amendments to it,
The amendments.
then I will, I'll make a motion to approve the First Amendment to the North Smithfield Home Charter. Question 1, form of government, town manager, council. Commencing on December 1st, 2028, shall the form of government be changed from an elected town administrator to a town manager appointed by the council, with the following changes being made to the charter? Do I need to read the whole thing, or?
I want to bring up is, if you're going to make a period after that, and then the next phrase is a master's degree in public administration, or its equivalent is preferred, and I think you're going to make another period, because then it's at least, obviously, the next sentence is required, right? At least 5 years' experience spent as a senior manager. That is a requirement, that is not a may.
Right.
So if you don't do that, if you don't leave it as written and approved by general code, and you want to write it your way, which is fine, then I think you should make another period, another capital.
So it would read, master's degree in public administration or its equivalent is preferred,
Period.
Period.
At least 5 years' experience spent as a senior manager, administrator, or similar position. At least 5 years' experience in municipal collective bargaining is desirable. Okay.
Yep.
I see what you mean.
Okay. So I'll make that
Because one
motion.
is a preference and one is a requirement.
Well, it's saying desirable, I guess you could leave it that way. I mean, do you want that to be a requirement? The way this, we could leave it that way, as
Well-
long as you know it's just going to stay as a preference and a desire.
Okay.
If you're fine with that,
I'm
that's
okay.
fine.
I don't know, but.
You
I
fine
don't-
with that, BP?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So are you making that change or no?
No, we're gonna leave it as is. Okay, so I made my motion. No, we're gonna leave the language. Yeah, I said the motion to question 1, I read the question. Do I need to read everything else? Yeah, that one was all done. And then I made a motion to approve question 1, form of government, and I read the question. As amended.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Any discussion? One thing you're not realizing, very careful here, you gotta be careful, is, so we have 2 people running for town administrator right now. In 2028, the council, whoever it is, in 2028, a majority of 3 people will be able to remove that person from office without cause, without a hearing, just simply because now it's time to hire a new town manager. Doesn't matter how great a job they're doing, it doesn't matter what, but if they're on the wrong side politically of the majority of the council, they will be removed without cause or without a hearing, and that's very dangerous. I think that you're going down a dangerous road right there.
Where is that?
It's right there, because in 2028,
Section 2.
it's gonna start, right? So one of these, whoever gets elected right now,
Mhm.
doesn't matter how great a job they're doing, if they're not in the majority, if the majority's not with them, then they can remove that person without cause and without a hearing. simply by saying it's time to hire a town manager.
Well, no, they would just be elected for 4 years, right?
Right,
So
they'd be elected to 2028.
right, so their term would be done.
The election's a
Correct,
separate
but
issue.
you would be denying them the opportunity to run again.
Well,
They
yeah,
could
but
apply.
they could apply for it.
Yeah, it's a job.
You know,
Job
that's
is
my
not-
point. You could just shut them down by hiring somebody else and taking them right out of the game. Doesn't matter, I don't want to say you, I just mean a majority of the council could just take them right out of the game by hiring somebody and taking them right out of it.
Well, I mean, I look at there's over 20 other communities in Rhode Island that have a town manager form of government versus an elected, and, you know, the gift of having that is that you have continuity, right? Like, look at Burrville, we keep talking about Burrville as an example. I think the town manager has been there over 40 years. And it runs smoothly, and it's consistent, and there's always somebody that's got institutional knowledge. So I think you would not want to, if you're working in the best interest of the community.
It's politics.
Well, it is politics, which really is a
But
bad
it's
thing.
not politics in Burville and the other communities.
It isn't.
It works in Burrville.
It's a-
You got
it's a
one-off in
professional-
Burrville. The guy
but
it doesn't mean it's gonna work here.
But it's a
No.
professional environment, and, you know, I would hope that at this point, it isn't like high school, and that people are acting in the best interest of the town, and not just canning somebody because they didn't like them
hope
for
so.
whatever reason, you know? And, you know, it's the same thing with an election. You could like somebody and popularity wins, and you vote that person in regardless if the other person is highly qualified or not. I mean, you can make the argument both ways, you know, and, you know, I say, just, like I said at the beginning, it works. Paula brought up a great point. It's over 20 communities in town have it. I mean, 20 communities in the state have it, and so it works not just here in Rhode Island, but in, you know, other surrounding communities and states and across the country. So, you know, I say just put it back to the voters and let's see what they have to say.
You're also creating a lame duck from the moment they get elected.
Not
They're a lame duck.
necessarily.
Yeah.
No. Because they can still run and they can get elected and they can still do everything. If somebody's running and then saying, well, you know, in 4 years I'm going to be out of a job, I would hope that the person that is running and is looking to get elected is running and getting elected because they actually want to make a difference in this community. And that no matter what is at the end of those 4 years, mind you, there's nothing stopping anybody from running, that's running now, from applying for a manager position, that they would still roll up their sleeves and do the work that's needed to keep moving this town forward. I mean, we always talk about setting a higher standard and being better. I mean, if people are just coming with the mentality, if I got 4 years, I'm just gonna collect a paycheck and call it good, what precedent is that? What example are we setting for the future?
Right, and I think, you know, to your point, that whenever we do it, we're in that same position. Because we'll have another 4 years of somebody else if we do it in 4 years, and then you go, oh, but you know,
Plus,
those people can't, you know, they're lame ducks. No, I think you have to move on something. You have to believe that the people that you're representing are intelligent and can make a choice that they feel is going to work for them. If they choose to say, hey, town council, we don't want that, then that's where it ends, right? And if they say, let's try it, then we have to implement it. And I think it's not our decision, right? I mean, it's really up to people to decide. And I think there is never going to be a time where you can fit this in perfectly to a situation, because we're always going to have 4 more terms.
Well, you could go to
4-year
2032,
terms.
and that way they would give the next person, the next town administrator, the opportunity to run for council again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, the people that we
No, I'm saying
have,
not run for council, run for administrator again.
yeah, the people we have running now, I think are, you know, qualified, and I think they're in it for the right reasons. So if they feel after 4 years that they want to continue providing a service to the community, then they'll apply. And if they've chosen not to for whatever reason, then someone else can apply who's had the experience.
And they better hope they get along with the majority of the council, too.
plus, this is a presidential election coming up. And it's ironic that during the police station debate, all we heard was, well, we should wait for a presidential. We shouldn't use an off-year election. Now, for the issue of a town government, it's forget the presidential election. Let's use an off-year election to determine the future. So, I mean, I would say that if you're gonna look to make a change, then the presidential election makes the most sense. You're gonna get the most people showing up to vote, and it can't be good for one and not good for the other, so, you know, that's another point that I wanna make.
All good points.
All right, so we have a motion and a second,
Yep.
right? Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
No.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
No.
All right, now I'll make a motion to look for approval on question 2, town council terms. Commencing on December 1st, 2028, shall the charter be amended to establish that the town council shall be elected to serve 4 four-year staggered terms, with the following changes being made to the charter, and then the changes are listed.
Do you have to read any in?
No.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Just for discussion, the reason why this language failed the last time it was on the ballot was because the town decided that they wanted to skip an election. They were going from even to odd years, or odd to even, and they decided to give everybody a 3-year term back in '98 when it was voted on. So it was because of, that was the Supreme Court case, is that it had nothing to do with the language and the wording, it had to do with the fact that you can't skip an election and extend people's terms by doing that.
Okay, so are there two section, oh, you're just looking at Article 2, Section 2 term limits right now? Is that
No,
what-
question
No.
2, the whole question.
The whole question?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, there's only one question.
so all elected officials shall serve terms of office that shall not exceed 2 consecutive terms of 4 years, excluding any term of less than 4 years previously served. Provided, however, that any former elected official shall again be eligible for election after not less than 4 years shall have elapsed from the end of such 8-year. So, in regular language, you're saying?
So if you had the
Can't
top, so the way it would work is the top 3 would get the 4-year,
Mhm.
and then the last 2 would get the 2-year. So in this event, you would say somebody can't run because you're at an 8-year, the way our language currently reads for the term limit. So you would move it to a 4-year term, so that those people that were in the 2-year term aren't prohibited from running, because if they ran and were elected, and then you said you can't serve your full term because you termed out, you're gonna create a constitutional issue there. So that's the why it's worded the way it's worded. It has to be 2 consecutive 4-year terms, so you don't penalize the people. Right, and then you would have every 2 years an election, similar to the school committee.
Oh, okay. Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Did we second?
Did anyone
I have
second,
no idea.
Joanne?
I don't
No.
think so.
No.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a quick point. I like believe me, I do not cherish the political season. However, it's a necessary evil, and the 2 years gives us like an automatic recall, right? So we kind of get put up, we kind of get put to the test every 2 years. If they don't like us, they can vote us out, and it's kind of built in. That's why you never see, you don't really see the council getting called up for recall elections very often, or I don't recall ever seeing it, period, because there's an election coming in 2 years. I don't think that, I think 4 years, you could sit here getting too comfortable, and I don't think that we should be comfortable in our positions. I think we should be very uncomfortable, knowing that 2 years, we could be gone if we mess up. And that creates too much, 4 years, you can sit here being too comfortable.
Again, I heard from a lot of people on this, that's why I proposed it, and the idea that every 2 years you're changing over councils is a large reason why we haven't gotten a lot done in this
I agree with everything
town.
you're saying.
I mean, look at all the other towns around us. They're exploding with business. They're investing in their infrastructure. They are keeping taxes affordable, however you want to look at it. They're running away from us, and the reality is something is broken here, and we have to look at other options. And we talk about how great the school committee's model works in terms of the staggered terms, and the great job that they do, and that was what kind of drew inspiration, plus hearing from voters in town. And so, I think I think if somebody was to run, I would hope that they wouldn't get comfortable, that they would, you know, that's where there's supposed to be the public input to keep them on their feet and their toes. And so, you know, people, again, I'm one person, I obviously support it. You know, I'll leave it up to the rest of the council as they see fit. If it gets shot down, then you can expect on the 19th, I'm gonna ask to form a charter review commission. Expect a
support
5-0
you.
vote.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
No.
Madam President, I'd like to add to the August 19th agenda before it gets too full that the town council forms a charter review commission.
I'll second that.
Is it a motion? or-
That's a motion.
Second. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for speaking.
Thanks for your hard work on that, Doug.
Yeah, no problem.
Discussion by council vote or other action on authorization of resolution to the Rhode Island Traffic Commission and the State Department of Transportation requesting a traffic study for the area in the town of North Smithfield along Route 5 from pole number 143 to pole number 149. Mr. Biragad.
Yeah, we spoke to this ad nauseum last week. I would just suggest that we send this up and let, instead of us making the decision, let the Department of Transportation make the decision, let them look at it. They might come back, they might even ignore it, because they got so much stuff going on. Just kick it up and let them make the call on this.
At the last meeting, I thought we agreed that we would take out the phrase including but not limited to installation of guardrail.
We did,
And it's still here.
yeah.
Yeah, we did remove that.
Did you hear what we were just saying? Where that we had requested to have stricken the words including but not limited to installation of a guardrail because we wanted the information to go to the state with them being, you know, just not being biased by our request of a particular solution. But that's still here.
So we'll just strike it.
Hmm?
I don't
We
know
can
why it's
just-
still
We
there,
can
but
just
we'll just
approve
strike
it, less that.
I think it's kind of unrealistic to think that the experts at DOT are gonna be biased because we say, hey, how about possibly a guardrail? I don't think they're gonna say, oh, God, I never thought of that.
What about a
I don't think
sidewalk?
that's gonna happen. The sidewalk is gonna be millions of dollars with granite curbing and cement sidewalks.
You could put boulders there for all that really matters, or
I
trees,
agree
or
with
something.
that.
It doesn't, put traffic cones or caution tape. I
Wrong
mean, it
traffic,
doesn't
but you wanna
need
put
to
boulders
be.
there? I'm all for it.
All right, so can we stay on topic and just, we
No,
agreed to
I think
remove this?
I think if you're gonna leave it, then I would wanna include the DPW director even said the last meeting that there should be sidewalks there and we should ticket people. I don't,
He made a suggestion, but you're talking millions of dollars. to
let
put
the state
sidewalks up.
determine.
Yeah, all right. Throw it on there.
We'll just take it out, but I think if we're gonna do it, we might as well, we were gonna have discussion about expanding in the parking lot at some point. That's coming, I think we have a discussion later on about other matters on Providence Pike. I just think that it shouldn't be limited to just one thing, you know, I think there's things we can do without getting the state involved.
Well, if we're gonna add to it, then let's discuss that. If not, I'm gonna make a motion to remove the two statements.
Just remove it, let them figure it out.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept this resolution and delete the item under the fifth paragraph whereas, and take out including but not limited to installation of guardrail. And then also in the next paragraph, remove including but not limited to installation of guardrail.
First is to make that amendment. And that
Make
should
the
be the
amendment
first
first.
motion,
All right,
to
make
strike
amen-
that language.
All right, make an amendment to delete those two statements in the resolution.
And could I just weigh in? It appears that we should be sending it to all the senators that represent North Smithfield and all the reps instead of just the two that are listed.
I was gonna say, cause that's Senator Paolino's district, he's not even on here.
So the entire delegation of the Senate and House that represents, that will insert those names, if you can make that amendment as well.
And also include the entire
Legislative delegation.
legislative delegation.
for the town of North Smithfield.
for the town of North Smithfield.
Okay, may I discuss more?
Mhm.
I just want to go on record saying that I don't think this is the best solution right now. I think it is a potential option that we should at least get, moving. I'm not sure it's the best, and I just want
Yeah,
to be
this-
on record to say that there are other things that I think we should be doing as a town before we ask the state to intervene.
Yeah, and this right now is just to get rid of those two lines, but it's not to actually approve the
Okay, no,
resolution to
okay.
go up.
All right, so you do you make a motion?
I made a
Second?
motion. I need a second.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
You think?
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And now we would need a motion to approve this resolution as amended. Okay. Anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution as amended.
I'll second.
I'll have to listen.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
My only discussion is that whatever comes out of this is that you may not be preventing people from parking, which we've seen recently on the other side of the road.
Mhm.
And it's still not gonna address the safety issue of walking on Providence Pike,
Right.
either next to a guardrail, next to something. So it's solving a problem, but is it solving the whole problem? No.
And then also, if I can just make a comment too, Chief, you haven't been at the last couple of meetings, but we discussed in very much long detail about how maybe one way to eliminate some of these issues is to have patrols and visibility of the police in that area. Can we start doing that?
Yes.
And also traffic, and then we talked about, obviously, the speeding on Providence Pike too. It's obviously an issue in that area. Can we just have like regular patrols in that area?
Yeah, we do have regular patrols in that area. We've had the signboard out, and we have a list and schedule from the school, certain functions they're having at the field. And that was the problem. We weren't getting the schedule ahead of time, but we will be patrolling that area that we have.
I did see there's a new blinking light
gone.
right near,
Solar speed radar.
yeah, right near NSES, right?
Yes. And I have more of those that I'm going to be purchasing.
But if we can have someone sitting in some areas over there, because the
Yes.
speeding on that road is really bad.
It's bad.
Yes, we do have speed requests.
Okay,
They drag race at night.
yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second, right, Joanne? Okay, any other discussion?
Just quickly, I don't understand the pushback on this, just asking DOT to take a look at it and see what they think, but if
Because
you
I don't
don't,
think we've done our due diligence in our own town yet.
it's a state road.
So we're just gonna put a blind eye to it because they're parking right in front of a no parking sign?
What are we doing our due diligence? We're trying to put an end to it by putting some kind of barrier up there.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
No.
Ms. Alves.
No. Discussion by council vote or other action on reconsideration of retaining architectural services to Signal Works Architecture for the renovation of the North Smithfield Police Station and approving the letter agreement dated 6/12/2024 with Signal Works Architecture for architectural services in the amount of $40,950 with add alternatives in the amount of $7,600 and authorize the town administrator to execute the letter agreement and pay the retainer amount of $5,500 to Signal Works to begin work, AKA option 2. So this is pertaining to a vote that we've already taken. Is that correct, Mr. Solicitor?
That's correct.
And then it was asked to be recalled.
Been a motion to reconsider under Rule 10, and that motion will be presented now.
Okay, so the person that recalled the vote, would you like to explain why?
Absolutely. When I went home, after us voting on this, I kept seeing the extra architectural services, which we, in essence, already paid them on their first go-around. So if it's the second go-around, everything they need is generally there. I don't see why we should be paying an extra about $48,000. There's only a certain section going to be done. There's no great construction. And don't think it's right. We could get a clerk of the works. It'd be much cheaper. And they'd be following the guidelines from the original, which goes according to the rooms. And the chief, I believe, had earmarked certain areas that we can't do it all, to do some. I just thought, you know, over and over. The 48,000 disturbed me. And they're doing only, what, 5 sections? If I'm correct on that, was discussed. And it's not saying that it's their work, it's saying they already did the work. Why should we pay them again?
All right, so, Mr. Solicitor, we can't discuss any of the contract, it's just about the decision of recalling the vote, okay.
If the motion to reconsider passes, then you go back to the contract. Back on your table if it passes. If it doesn't pass, that's the end of the discussion. That makes sense?
Makes sense.
So I guess I just have a couple of questions for Mrs. O'Hara, because when we were having, when we met that evening, we hadn't even come to voting yet, and you mentioned in the middle of the meeting, we definitely need to move forward and get this done, and you voted.
I did, and then I read it again.
And
And
then-
I said, it's wasted money. Everybody's saying it's tight, let's hope. It's not the whole building. And a clerk of the work could be half of that price and follow what's there.
So my next question would be, the next morning, I sent an email out to the administrator and the finance director at about 9 o'clock that morning, asking them to advise as soon as the contract was signed and the check was sent, and the administrator had already known that there was going to be a recall.
I called
And-
early the next day.
And, excuse me, and the letter did not go to town hall till about 2 o'clock, so I'm just wondering how that all came about.
Like everything else in this town. I may have said to one person, something doesn't sit well with me. Call town hall whenever we could get it in to be reappraised. I appreciate it. This is North Smithfield. And you yourself, many things, before we even know it, you know it. So it's just one of those things. I'm not gonna get a slap on the hand, but.
No, I'm just
I do
wondering
see
why,
that.
why the administrator knew before anyone else on the council knew, that's all.
Because she called me in the morning.
Oh.
That's why.
To see if I could, I'd like to do
Councilor
this.
O'Hara called me in the morning about 7:10. I said, okay, you know the procedure. She knew the procedure. She
Yeah.
knew she had to go to the town clerk. So that's why I responded to your
And I
email.
wasn't sure that, you know, I know he's quick at getting things done, money man, but, because we had to give him a $5,500 binder on it, and if it went through, I didn't know if they did it that quickly, or when it could go on.
All right, so now we're making a motion to vote on this again, correct?
Well, there was a motion, was there a second to the motion to reconsider?
No. All right, so we have a
Why is it
motion
second?
and a second, right? Do we have a second?
Did we?
All right, so we have a,
We didn't have a motion.
no.
No, we didn't
Oh, I
We don't
thought
have
you
a
made
motion, no.
Make a motion that we reconsider the financial allocations to Signal Works Architecture Group for the extra 48,000.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the discussion.
Go ahead.
Just for the rest of the council, just keep in mind that voting to approve the motion to reconsider does not mean you're voting in favor of or against the contract. You're just basically opening up the discussion again. So that's up to you if you want to decide if you want to have further discussion on this. That's what the vote is for. It's not, you're not voting yes or no on Signal Works. You're voting yes or no on
That's right.
opening up the discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So the motion, can I just hear the motion again one last time? Because I just want to make sure what I heard was correct.
To reconsider the vote to
Yep.
Signal Works.
Was that it? Because I
No,
know there was money
there's-
involved.
Yeah, the
No, that I
reconsider
have, I didn't write down the money, but I have to listen to that.
Okay.
is part of it.
So you just want to reconsider the vote and the 48,000?
He wants to do it, it's fine, but I think we already have enough of this architectural work that we've paid for that can be used and not add another 48,000. Because you know he's not going to be standing in that police station, making sure everything's going fine.
That's not what we're voting on right now.
No, I just want to know what the motion is.
I know,
that's all.
I don't want to get this wrong.
I'm only looking at the
right?
motion.
I agree with you on this.
We're just voting on whether or not we're going to open up the floor again for discussion.
Okay. Make a motion that we open the floor again to
Yep.
reconsider all areas of the contract.
Yeah, we got that, and I
Okay.
seconded.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, right? Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
No.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier.
No.
Ms. Alves.
No. Discussion by council vote or other action on parking situation on Providence Pike near Athletic Field. Ms. Hamilton?
Excuse me, I'm going to read this because I've had a rough couple of days and my mind is a little off. So, normally don't read into the record, but I'd like to, and then present this to the clerk. It's just referencing the parking situation. After months of going back and forth and trying to determine a solution to the dangerous parking conditions on Providence Pike near the athletic field, I'm formally asking for a collaborative meeting with one representative each of the school department, athletic director, Wide World Sports, who has jurisdiction over renting the field for sporting events, the North Smithfield Athletic Association, the town administrator, the town council, and the police department. This parking situation must be dealt with as part of an overall plan to ensure the safety of public viewers and athletes as well. Until we determine the best options and then set policy into place, we will be spinning our wheels and placing blame on each other for not addressing the issue. We've spent far too long on potential solutions. We need to agree, set a policy, and then provide enforcement for a consistent, predictable, and safe environment for all. I will ask that we send out invitations to meet as soon as possible so that we have a game plan in place that is comprehensive. Paulette Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it for that item number?
And that is it.
New business discussion by council vote or other action on North Smithfield Heritage Association Memorial Town Building lease. Mr. Keane?
Madam President, as Mr. Keene walks up, I need to recuse myself from this matter as I serve as treasurer for the Heritage Association.
Okay, thank you.
Rich Keene, 7 Bamford Street, representing the North Smithfield Heritage Association. 4 years ago, at the time Mr. Ozowski was the town administrator, called us regarding potentially managing or taking over the management of the old town hall when the town was getting ready to move into this building. And we were thrilled, absolutely thrilled with that idea. And at the time, we sat with him and we worked out what we thought at the time was a very good lease, and it is a great lease in my opinion. But times have changed, and one of the things that has spurred this is that at your financial town meeting, you increased the amount of the appropriation for the payment of some of the services there at the building. And so that changes we're here to ask to update the lease, basically. So I think you have a copy of the proposed changes. I can go through them pretty quickly. I don't think there's that many, if you'd like.
Yep. Yes, please.
Okay. So it starts with the first paragraph that this lease dated whatever the date was in 2020 would be replaced with whatever, if this is approved, the new date of 2024. After Section 1, Section 2 is term and renewal. So the intent of the original lease, when we had gone through it, was to make this a self-renewing type of a lease, so that unless one of the parties wanted to get out of the lease, the Heritage Association could renew it by just paying the $5, the dollar per year that was stated in the lease. But we didn't think about, we may have to increase the amount of money that's the town council appropriates for the services, and so every time that we have, the town increases the appropriation, would have to come back and ask the town council to revise the lease. So, so we put in some language. Forgive me, my highlight is in yellow, and so the term of this lease shall be 5 years, beginning on August 1st, and ending on July 31st, 2029. Is that? I'm sorry.
29.
29. Yeah. That August 1st could change to whatever date that is necessary. Section 3 regards the $1 per year rent. The Section 4 is peaceful possession. That doesn't change. Section 5 is use. Under use, we start to get into the services that the town pays for. The tenant shall endeavor, Section 5, paragraph D, the tenant shall endeavor to conserve energy costs to the extent reasonably possible. The landlord will pay for, and it listed certain expenses that the town would pay for. What we didn't consider at the time was internet services. And as it turned out, the internet service was never shut off in the town hall, but it's still included in the appropriation amount. So what we'd like to do is add the internet services to the bills. The town's already paying them; it's just bringing the lease up to date. Electric and natural gas utility services, as well as routine maintenance supplies, up to a total amount of. The change would be $7,700, which is what you appropriated this year for those expenses. In addition, the landlord, these are changes that we'd like to make. Water and sewer related expenses are already included in the lease, but we would like to add, as well as,
it's alarm.
The alarm monitoring,
Monitoring.
which was something that, at the time, in 2020, there was no alarm. But subsequently, the town council appropriated some money to install fire alarm system, burglar alarm system. So there's a monitoring expense that goes along with that. And auxiliary power generator maintenance. So there's, we hadn't considered it at the time, but last year we had two times when we had to call the generator people to come in and fix the generator. And so we'd just like to add that as into the list of things that the town would pay with that appropriation. And section 6 is subletting. Section 7 is condition of the premises. Section 8 is alterations and improvements. Section 9 is liability of the landlord. I don't think there's any other changes that we're asking to make. So we're asking you to basically just update the lease, and I think there's I missed a spot here somewhere where for renewal. Under the automatic renewal, I would ask that the lease renew at the amount that is appropriated by the town council in any given year, so that we don't have to keep coming back. It starts off at, this lease would start off at $7,700, and but in subsequent years, everything goes up, and if we truly want to make this kind of a self-renewing thing, I would ask that we, at any time the town council changes the appropriation for the expenses, that would automatically update the lease. I thought I had language in there, but on my copy, I don't see it. Is it on yours?
No.
Leave it, Madam President, I think it's in section 5D, the last sentence, on that page 1. Unless you don't have that copy.
He's talking about this.
I assume
I don't think
that.
so.
Yeah, he was talking about leasing.
Right, but I believe you're referring to that the town will be responsible for $7,700 a year,
Yes.
plus any higher amount subsequently appropriated by the town council. That was inserted by you, right, Mr.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, we do have that.
But weren't you just talking about automatic renewals?
So that would enable the automatic renewal. If we start off with 7,700 in this update, but include that language that any subsequent amount approved by the town council.
Okay. Can I ask a couple of thousand quick questions
Yeah.
about the lease? Can anybody use the building?
Because the town pays for basically all of the expenses, we allow any local nonprofit to use the building at no cost.
So only nonprofits?
We haven't been asked by private people, to my knowledge.
No, I'm just thinking if someone's on a committee and they don't have a place to meet, can they just go and they're not an organization, but they're a committee or a commission or something?
Nobody's ever asked the question. I don't see why not, but, we try to accommodate, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But currently, the Land Trust uses the Land Trust, the VFW, Pumpkin Fest, North Smithfield Historic District Commission, the Little League, and the Arts Advisory Commission has met there. So
But you don't have any restrictions that you're aware of that would prevent, if a couple of people got together and they wanted to a brief meeting and say, can we meet, 2 or 3 people for whatever? I mean, if they're residents, do they have to be residents? I mean, do you have a list of, I guess I'm not sure about the utilization of the building, and also, I noticed that there were a lot of, under section 8, alteration and improvements, this tenant shall not make any alterations, additions, or improvements to their premises without prior written consent of the town administrator. So I just wondered if all the things that have been done to date, has that followed that procedure, like the town
Yes.
administrator
So
has written,
Yes.
okay, you can, tear out the upstairs, and so then I guess if that is the case, then who pays, like, if we refurbish the upstairs, right, back to its original, is that, I don't know if that's the goal or not, but
It is.
who pays for that?
So it's done in 2 ways right now. It's done through grants. Right now, we've got a $25,000 grant from the Champlain Foundation that we're using to upgrade all of the electrical circuits upstairs.
Okay.
And the town council appropriated $20,000 this year for historic upgrades. And so we're going to use that to try to get the ceilings and walls and painted and the floors refinished, at least in the main hall.
Okay. So I guess, and forgive me if I'm not familiar, because I really haven't, I've been into the building only when we have the parades, and I use the bathroom facilities real quick. It looks beautiful. There's been a lot done with the interior. On the first floor, I didn't go upstairs. But, so, just for my edification, so the town owns the building, you are the caretaker, as it were. So who makes the decisions as to who uses it, what's paid for, what's not paid for?
It's the same, virtually the same situation you have with the Forestdale School. So you own the Forestdale School, we lease it, and we operate it and manage it.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Okay. All right, so
Madam President?
I guess if, I'm sorry.
I just draw your attention to section 5. If you want to delve into the uses that are allowed, there's the list. Any other uses need to be approved by the town council. If you want to provide some of the use, you
So-
could list it there.
Okay, so, yeah,
It's section 5.
Right,
It's not about
section
alteration to the building, it's
section
about
5
use of the building.
A, is that what you're referring to?
That's the use section. That's the limitation of the use of the property. That was created by the Heritage Commission some 5 years ago as their
Okay.
list of uses.
Not, okay, so, all right, so I
So-
guess I'm just thinking, if the town owns it, why can't we make the list of the things that we want to see it utilized as opposed to the Heritage Commission? I mean,
Well, the town council can do whatever, the lease,
right.
if you want to change the lease, then the town council has that right. But, we try to make this a collaborative thing, and
Right.
where we,
but it's very specific, maybe use and occupy as its headquarters, so I would imagine
that's what it is.
that's you,
yes.
right? Community center, cultural center, visitor center, museum, archive, office building, or any combination thereof. The tenant shall not use or permit the premises to be used for any other purpose without the prior consent of the landlord. Yeah, I would like to see it expanded, the use expanded.
May I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're leasing it for $1 a year or $10,000 a year,
Right.
they're leasing it, so they get to decide how it's used.
Well, that's what I'm trying to determine, I'm not sure.
I don't
Like,
see a
I'm
difference.
just asking because I'm really not sure
Bear-
how that works.
Bear in mind, please, that we're a group of, it's 100% volunteers.
Yeah.
So, we try our best to serve the community as best we can. But if you're gonna, if somebody wants to use that building for a small meeting, someone has to go and open up the building
Right.
and shut it down and afterwards. And you know, I'll be glad to have the discussion about other uses, but don't forget, this is going to have an impact on volunteers.
Right, okay, good point, yeah.
I don't think anybody's complained yet.
No, but I mean, like I say, haven't been involved enough in it, and that's my own fault for not taking a more active role, you know, but I just want to make sure that we're not, you know, is there a limit to the amount? You have a $7,700 per year and then higher amount subsequently appropriated, so, I mean, there's no limit, right, that the town council, subsequent town councils could give you
Yes.
any amount of money, right, is what you're
Right.
saying, okay.
I'm hoping at some point, when the expenses get too close to that 7,700, that the town council will consider raising the amount.
They're getting free labor, pay for the rest.
I mean, if the building was abandoned, it would be falling in disrepair, and it would cost millions down the road to fix it up.
Yeah.
So this is cheap money, what they're
Yep.
doing right here, occupying the
And
building.
these people have done tremendous things for this town on their own time. They get lost going home sometimes, they're so long.
Does anyone have any more questions for Mr. Keen?
Sorry for taking up so much time, I just wanted clarification.
Anyone want to make a motion regarding the lease?
That if you're gonna try to change the usage, you gotta do it before you vote on it. You can't do it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanna do that, then you need to continue this, and
Well-
you need to negotiate that.
Right.
Or if you vote on it, it's done for 5 years, so
Yeah.
you can't have it both ways.
Right, no, that's why, you know, his point of the volunteerism and makes sense, you know, what are you gonna do? We could expand it and then not have anybody over there to open the door, turn the lights on, right? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions? Anyone make a motion for in regards to the lease?
I'll make a motion to approve the lease from the North Smithfield, for the North Smithfield Heritage Association as presented. And the lease would not to exceed $7,700 a year. I'm sorry, it would be $7,700 a year, reviewable each year.
Correct.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Yeah, it's a 5-year
Yeah.
lease, and I said it would be, starting at $7,700, reviewable each year after that.
Yeah, the lease is not renewable yearly, right, it's
First
a 5 years,
Of 2024.
right.
Mhm.
But the
Correct.
For
renewal,
5
what
years.
he's referring to is
The-
the
the
dollar
refer-
amount.
The reference to renewable, I think, it's
Yeah.
got to do with as long as they pay the dollar a year during that 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not automatically renewable in year 6. You have to come back before the
Correct.
council in year
Okay.
6.
So that's a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, right?
Yep, I think Claire said.
Claire?
Second?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier. Ms. Alves. That was a
Yes.
long time ago.
I know, yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Wait, at least we got a write a note right here.
Discussion by council vote or other action on award of bid, North Smithfield High School parking lot. Mr. CP?
That was pulled, I believe.
CJ?
It's both?
So I just had a question. If it's pulled, do we know when it's gonna be back on? It's the first
And-
time I'm hearing
and
of
like
it
why?
tonight.
Yeah.
And if it's possible to get more backup than the bond posting from Yard Works and just a rough drawing of what's to be done.
In
There's no
terms
other
of the
backup
specs,
here.
you would have to ask Mr. Seepy, but the reason he had given me was because it wasn't approved by the school committee yet. So he needed to get approved So as soon as they approve it, it'll be on that following agenda. So I don't think it'll be on the 19th. We're probably thinking early to mid-September. One of those meetings is what he was estimating. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make the statement again. When it comes due, then we'll get more backup.
Yeah, I'll let him know that you guys are looking for more information, yeah.
Yeah, because all we have is one page
Yeah, for $400,000.
for $400,000.
Well,
So
there's like,
There's a bid for the covering of the bond, and then there's an invoice, but then it's just a
Insurance,
drawing of a little bit, there's not much.
So, and to the gentleman at the beginning that spoke, the way it should be identified on the agenda needs to be more specific. I thought it was the high school. Somebody asked me, looked on my phone, I thought it was the high school parking lot in the front. It's not the high school parking lot. It is another parking lot where trees have to come down, where there's a lot of work that has to be done for almost $400,000. So I was certainly not going to approve this tonight, no matter who gave me information, because that's an exorbitant amount of money, and there has been absolutely no discussion from the school department about it with us.
Can I ask another question? And maybe this is a question for the school committee, so if it is, pass it along. But do abutters need to be notified of any of this? I mean, you're talking about significant work over there. Is there any notification requirement? I know sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. I'm just asking. Maybe early in the process, but
If it's during the day,
just curious.
Certainly could require it. I don't think there's, if they get a construction permit, there's automatically notice to surrounding people.
I mean, there's
Unless
homes that abut
unless
it,
there's
so
some
that's why I'm
zoning
curious.
requirement, otherwise construction would not be.
Well, I know it sits over an aquifer zone, and I know that, you know, there is concern over.
That's a zoning-
the
that's a zoning
contamination of
condition.
PFAS and other things, so I'm just curious if we're just being extra
If
cautious
there's,
on that
if
side.
there's zoning impact, then there would be zoning notice. If there's no zoning impact, then it would be a permit.
Plus, I know there's a couple homes that abut that property, like right up on the line, so that's why I'm just curious if the proper precautions, that's all, just an inquiry.
And my one question, Mayor. Procedurally, this doesn't have to go to anyone? No planning board, no zoning, no, before it comes to us? No. Okay.
The contract doesn't mean there's shovel in the ground. It means then
No,
they would then have to do whatever they would have to do whatever they have to apply for.
so
This is a school department request.
Mm-hmm.
They'll make that request, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't make that determination.
Okay.
I mean, the planning board might make that. I mean, the planner and the zoning official, when they try to go get a permit, the building inspector would, when somebody applies for a building permit, would say, a construction permit, well, you gotta go to zoning, you gotta go to planning. That determination is made administratively upon application.
Okay.
So I don't have that answer, but
Right.
they would.
Okay, thanks.
discussion by council vote or other action on sewer commission, Mr. Dakota or Mr. Dory. Sewer department RI infrastructure bank loan application and purchase of pump for Sharon Parkway Station.
Is that your child who's going to be a future town council
No, it's
person?
just some random kid I picked up in
Yeah.
the parking lot.
You have good taste?
he's excellent.
You're on record saying that.
Police chief's gone now, I don't worry about it. All right, so we are here for two issues. I guess we'll start with the top one. So, as you know, in 2021, we had Red Pierce develop a 5-year capital plan, look at all of the town's sewer infrastructure, and come up with a plan for repairs and maintenance. That was brought forth in a February 2022 plan, which we presented to the town council. Began socializing with you guys the ways to pay for this. Ultimately, it culminated in our request for the budget this year, which was an increase of $10.83 a month in order to cover down on a 10-year, $4 million loan that would actually cover all the repairs and get us up to 100%. So right now, we went back to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. We got the application. That's the phase we're at now. We're not looking to take out the loan just yet. We're looking to put in the application. We got the specifics that we put before you. And right now, we're just looking for authority for the town administrator to sign, finish filling out the application, sign it, and submit it to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. And that's where we're at. Pending any questions?
So how long does the decision process take once you submit the application? Do we know?
Pretty quick.
It's pretty quick, yeah. I mean, I can't say for certain, I mean, you hit roadblocks that you go, but, I'm gonna guess within 4 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe even quicker.
So would you be able to do any of the work in this fiscal year? In this well, not even this calendar year probably then, right?
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, the work, we still have to go to design. That's gonna be
okay.
part of it, so
Okay.
that's gonna go out to Wright and Pierce. I mean, they did the assessment, but the work still has to get the, final design and stuff like that.
Right, okay.
And that was incorporated in the overall $4 million price tag.
Okay, so you're looking for, could you just tell us again what you're looking for this evening? Because we've already.
This evening, we're just looking for, requesting the town council's permission to complete the application and allow the town administrator to sign the application for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank loan. We're not actually looking for you guys to approve the loan at this time,
And that's
just the application.
A $4 million 10-year loan, right? That's the one
That is
we're
correct.
doing?
And it'll be about 2.3% interest rate.
Oh.
Over the course of the life of the 10 years, we'd be paying, with interest and fees, $463,944.69.
Okay, I'll make a motion to apply for the completion of the financial application for long-term financing through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, and for the sewer department to complete its projects bringing the improvements to 100%, and also to provide that the town administrator be authorized to sign.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the second issue is, as part of that plan, we identified improvements that needed to be done at the Sharon Parkway substation. And unfortunately, we had to move forward on that project ahead of time because there was a smell emanating from that particular station, and we wanted to make the improvements now. We originally were going to just do a full rehab of that substation. It was gonna cost us about $352,000. During our investigation of the best way to approach that, we actually found that there was a new plant that we could put in, made by Delta. It's like a vertical plant. Bill can explain it way better than I can. And it actually would come in at a substantially reduced cost of about $212,000 instead of the $352,000, and we'd get a whole new facility. Unfortunately, it's a new type of plan, and it had to go before the DEM, and the DEM took almost 2 years to review it. They finally gave us full approval to move forward with the project, but in that 2 years, the price went up from $212,000 to $294,000. That's labor, interest. I mean, it's just all the usual suspects that are causing costs to go up. But at this point, you had originally approved us to put it in at the $212,000. Delta did try to hold that price as long as they could, but with the DEM and their long process, they could not hold that price any longer. So we're back before you asking for the $294,000, $782 price. That still means we're saving $57,000 on what we originally thought it was gonna cost to bring Sharon Parkway up to 100%. But Bill can talk about the specifics.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I can answer them, but just to go over it, the new technology here, it's a closed system, so it just basically regulates water flowing in, and the pumps are controlled on a VFD, and that'll just keep up pace with whatever flow's coming in.
I don't know what a VFD is.
Oh, yeah, variable frequency drive, which means is the pump actually ramps up and down as, you know, as required. So it's, the computer control will just, if it's coming in at 30 gallons a minute, it'll run to pump 30 gallons a minute. If it's coming in at 100, it ramps up automatically. So that's new technology. It allows it to be a closed system. The old system, I shouldn't say the old system, it's still a widely used system, it's used today, is a wet well, right? And so the water comes in, fills up a wet well, a flow triggers off, says the pump turns on, it pumps it down, and it waits. So, you know, there's splashing and aeration and all kinds of things, and then it's vented out into the atmosphere. And in a tight neighborhood like that, you know, it creates the odors that the people are complaining about. So, yeah.
So even clean water creates that odor?
I'm sorry?
Even with clean?
This is all for wastewater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood, I'm sorry.
Yep, it's all
Don't wanna drink
wastewater.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yep, yep.
I apologize.
Nope.
So just a quick question, Mayor. Delta on the MPA?
I'm sorry?
Is Delta on the MPA?
You know what, that's a good question, but it is sole source. They're sole source, they're the distributor for this. It's called the Overwatch system, and they're the distributor for it. And like I said, it's new, it's been used in Europe quite a bit, but it's fairly new in the United States. And so.
I hope it's not used in the Seine River.
What's that?
No.
We attached
the Olympics,
the
get it?
notes from the 2022 meeting
Yeah.
to our package, just so you guys could reference that.
So
relative
the
to
only
sole
reason I
source.
asked about the MPA was, is it worth going out? I know you're gonna probably say no, to bid to see if we could get a better price in today's dollars right now, to see if another company would have the same system, or?
So they're still the sole source distributor for that
Period.
system.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
good, yep, that's it, thanks.
And now, do these funds come out of the enterprise, or?
Yeah, I think it's the fund balance.
Yeah, we're using the
Right.
fund, balance right now to pay for this. We're not using the $4 million loan. We had to get ahead of this. This was one of those things, we couldn't wait until we could get the whole project fully funded, just because of the odors emitting from it and the disruption that it was causing our fellow residents in that area. So this was one of the projects we just moved forward on with great quickness.
But it is out of the enterprise account, is that correct?
Yes.
They have enough in there?
Yes, we have about
cover
$4
that?
million in our enterprise account right now,
Okay.
which is still technically below what we need for a fund balance.
Right.
Our fund balance needs to be about 6.2, I think, $6.3 million. But we're working on that, and we'll have that in another 14 years.
Yay, all right, I'll make a motion.
Nice
It
job.
comes up quick.
Nice job. Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the $294,782 amount to Delta Electro Power for Sharon Parkway pump station.
that's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Bill has also offered to take you guys around any of our pump stations if you guys would like to tour them. So,
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. Discussion by council vote or other action on request for easement on Zero Country Way. Mr. Dakota?
Good evening. This came up because of, when we took down the tank on Ridge Road, there was a lot of the piping that fed the tank, the old tank was still intact. It was in place up to the tank, And so, as part of taking the tank down, we wanted to remove the pipe from the property also. So we made some new connections out on Ridge Road, and we severed all the old pipe work inside Zero Country Way. And what we found out after is that somewhere along the line, one of the houses that are landlocked, they had a water line that came into the property, drilled into the vault at the base of the tank, and it was tapped into the water main in there. So I looked around to see if there was an easement or anything like that. I couldn't find anything. But needless to say, they had no, once we put the water main back online, they had no water. So what happened at that point is we hooked them up to their neighbor through a garden hose, which is, acceptable when you get somebody has a broken service or something like that, to temporarily feed them, you backfeed the house. But to rectify the problem, the best alternative that I could come up with was to grant them an easement through that property, and let them, and tie them into the water main on Country Way. So that's why I'm here before you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions you want.
So were they actually a user? Like, were they getting
They were-
bills and stuff?
You know what, they were a user, they had a water meter, they were getting billed. Yeah, so they've been on the system, but there was really no record of it being tied in there. I'm sure, the institutional knowledge, I'm sure some people in the past knew it was there. I didn't. So when we severed that pipe, they had no water, so.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, normally, it should have been handled the way it's being handled now, right? An easement should have been granted. Ideally, you wouldn't let them tie into the line that feeds the tank, you bring them out to the water main in the street, but it didn't happen, so.
Okay.
So you're looking for permission for a 20-foot utility easement to the property at Zero Country Way, which is where the tank was, correct?
Exactly, yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve a 20-foot utility easement through the property at Zero Country Way. It'll be used to connect 73 North Main Street to the public water line on Country Way. The width will also enable 73 North Main to eventually connect to public sewer, as they are landlocked from connecting directly.
No, I'm sorry.
That is not correct?
No, nope.
Okay.
Under advisement, we pulled the part to allow them to connect sewer in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the option is there, but we didn't want it granted right in there.
All right, because according to this, it says the width of the easement that you're asking for, the 20 feet, would also provide enough for a sewer line, so that.
That was the
may-
intention, but that document, I don't, that's the wrong one got into the packet.
Well, let's see.
Because we made corrections on that.
Oh, boy.
Do you want to see the one we have?
Yes, please.
So we have the description. Yeah, so the one that.
What line did you?
Well, it's the cover letter. Last paragraph. North Smithfield Water Department respectfully ask Town Council permission for a 20-foot utility easement through the property at Zero Country Way. This easement will be used to connect 73 North Main to the public water line. The width will also enable 73 North Main to eventually connect to public sewer, as they are landlocked from connecting directly.
Should be on the very front page.
Yeah, the front
Yes,
page
front
cover
page.
letter, signed by Maura. Do you have that?
Okay, so that, yeah, I'm sorry. So that's, I mean, I should have pulled that out. But as far as the actual easement, it's clear in the easement that we pulled it out in the actual easement.
Yeah, because in the easement, it just states a water line only.
Yeah, we just stated the water line,
Yeah.
so, you
Okay,
know.
I just want to make sure.
Yep. So under purpose, that's exactly what we're looking for there.
Okay.
Just, I mean, I'm not a, you know, I mean, the idea of the width of 20 feet was in the future if they needed to connect sewer. So they do have a septic system right now. If they do have to connect, there's room there for it. But we didn't want to grant them permission to just have it. They would have to come to us.
Okay, all right, so all you're looking for now is the permission for the 20-foot utility easement through property at Zero Country Way to connect 73 North Main Street to the public water line.
That's right.
Period. That's my motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Go ahead.
Does the administrator need to sign? So we need to add it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Just want to make sure.
And to amend the motion to have the administrator sign the easement.
Any other discussion?
Thank you for catching that. Nope.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Osier?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion by council vote or other action on abatements and supplementals. Ms. St. George?
I have abatements in the amount of $14,775.03.
Oh, okay.
So the the third one up from the bottom, you don't have to mention the property, but can you just explain what that's saying? So it's entered on the wrong parcel?
The third one up from the bottom?
Yeah.
Yep, so what happened was it was an ownership error, so it was entered onto the wrong parcel. So basically, it's a wash. I'm just abating it to supplemental it under the correct person.
Okay, it's on the other side too. Okay, got it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the abatements in the amount of $14,775.03.
That's a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Osier?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Okay. Next I have supplementals, and then I'm in the amount of $44,558.30.
So it's just clear so everyone knows, the majority of that is a tangible. Correct. There was 2023 reported value incorrect of 29,927.
Yeah, so if you want me to break it up, so under real estate, it was $14,631.11. And then the main majority, like you said, is tangible and $29,927.19.
So the $29,927 is a cumulative of of a number of tangibles that were incorrectly reported, or is it just
No,
one?
it's just one.
Oh. Okay.
Have we checked any prior rolls and make sure that this was just for this 1 year?
Yeah, it was just on his return. Once he got the bill, he contacted me stating that his return was incorrect. So he sent a corrective return, and then I adjusted the bill.
Do you ever go out to check, like physically, how many doohickeys that person has, and
Yes.
you know, when they say they do and or don't?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I believe this one was a leasing company, though.
Okay.
I can double check. Hold on.
Okay. Did someone make a motion?
I think, was there a motion, Joanne?
Did anyone make a
Nope,
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve $44,558.30 of abatements. Supplementals, I'm sorry, supplementals.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. And that was a leasing company.
It was a leasing company?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Discussion by council vote or other action on award of bid for extension of fuel for Department of Public Works. Mr. Pendergast?
Good evening. Ray Pendergast, Director of Public Works. You should have in front of you the package, the bid from the City of Providence in 2022. They are now exercising their second amendment, which will go September 1st of '24 through August 31st of '25. The two companies, Santa Buckley Energy of Connecticut and Peterson Oil Service of Worcester, were the two bidders. We've been using Peterson Oil for several years, so my recommendation is to continue using Peterson Oil Services under the City of Providence agreement. And this is for gas and diesel fuel.
So it's a 2-year with a 1-year?
The bid was in '22, and this second amendment is September of '24 through '25, August of '25. I think this is the final amendment to that
Final
original
amendment to
bid.
it, okay.
Anyone have any further questions? Anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agreement with Peterson Oil Service on behalf of between the City of Providence and Peterson Oil to continue their final amendment effective September 1, 2024 through August 31st, 2025.
We have a motion. Is there a
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on award of bid for road salt, Department of Public Works. Mr. Pendergast.
This is through the Rhode Island MPA. We were notified by Easton Salt, who we've been using for the last several years. The contract runs until September of '24, but Easton Salt is holding their prices through April 30th of '25. The price is $74.22 per ton. And that's the price. No, there was no increase. That's the same price we paid this following year, this past year, I mean. So I'm looking for you to approve us entering into the agreement with Easton Salt Company.
Can I just ask a question? How much salt do we use now that we use that liquid brining?
We don't use as much salt, and the winters haven't been that bad. The problem with the de-icing is we don't use a lot of it because you can't use the brine when we have precipitation. So it just washes away. So it's kind of a juggling game with that. But we do save. We save on salt if we're able to with a large storm. and get the brine down 24 hours before.
So the brine can only go down on a dry road?
Yes. And then it has to stay dry until the storm. Kind of gives it like a little coat.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I see it, okay. I was just looking for the, okay, I'll make a motion to approve bulk road salt purchase from Eastern Salt Company in the amount of $74.22 a ton to be honored until, where is it, April 30th, 2025.
So we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on trash and recycling cart purchases, Department of Public Works, Ms. Pendergast.
So you should have in front of you, there's actually two sections of this. We're asking the approval of the council to sell additional recycling carts to the residents. The fee would be $45 for a 64-gallon cart and $65 for a 96-gallon cart. If I could just get some advice from the solicitor, should we break this into two because of the trash?
I
So-
think it just for clarity.
Yeah. So we'll take that as the first one, and then I can get into the second one.
So may I ask you why we're doing this? We've been getting a lot of requests?
Probably getting more requests for trash than recycling. Actually, this past 30 days has been very good. Trash tonnage has been reduced considerably, and our recycling has gone up, even with the every other week. So what's happening is we're finding families of more than 4 households have 5 or 6 or 7 people are requesting additional recycling and also trash. So that's where we're at now. We didn't want to roll this out when we started July 1st for the confusion, and there's been a lot of confusion because it was rolled out before we had the facts. So now we have the facts. Waste Management put this program together for us, and we had this, and now I'm presenting it so that we have 1 month under our belt.
Okay, so just quickly, the yellow bags that would be used for additional trash, we're not going to try to do that so that we eventually reduce our trash? So we're giving them an additional trash barrel? How is that going?
That'll be my next, that's the next thing.
Talk about recycling.
Did I get into
This right
myself?
now is recycling. I'll get
Sorry.
into that trash.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want, I don't want to confuse it.
Okay.
I have a question. With this additional fee for the additional trash, for additional recycling, and I have to go to the next one too, because it's the same thing. I feel like it's actually a trash tax on the residents. So, in other words, if you have somebody, a family of 1, 2, or 3, like my family, no problem, we can make do with what. So where's the logic, where's the reasoning that a family of 1, 2, or 3 gets the same trash allotment as a family of 5, 6, or 7? I feel that they should, it's kind of it is unfair, right? So I think that the family, the higher, maybe we set a standard of like 5 or more, should automatically get a barrel, a second barrel, at no cost to them, because it really amounts to a trash tax.
Someone has to pay for it, and somebody has to pay for the tonnage when we go over it.
But the trash is still, see, the thing is though, the trash is still being produced. We're not coming up with a way to reduce trash. We're just coming up with a way to stop the people from, they're confusing the people as to what to do with their trash.
I kind of have to disagree with you right there. The trash has been reduced, even with the people with 5 and 6 in the family. And what we're finding out is, after a month, people who thought they needed the extra trash or recycling don't want it now, because they're making do. So what's happening is, in the summertime, people have their parties and stuff like that. They're now properly putting the right stuff in the trash and the right stuff in the recycling. It's really simple. It's not confusing. And what's happening is, as the weeks go by, people are getting it, and they're starting to find out that it's not that difficult to go by this. And so some of the people who, like I said, requested this extra trash aren't requesting it anymore because they're making it do. I'm not saying everybody, but the number has come down. I mean, we can argue about this all day long, but it's the numbers are producing what we thought after a month, and it's going to continue reducing the trash.
But if they have a second barrel, they'll still be producing the same amount of trash.
Well, they're going to have to pay for that, and that's probably the deterrent of just throwing everything in your trash. See, we're trying to deter those people from doing that. That's really the game plan. Like, if you want to let people buy 4 trash, it's just, that's not what the program is supposed to be. We're supposed to be reducing our trash, and we are. Our numbers reflect that in the last 4 weeks.
So I have a question, if I may. So I want to focus on recycling now, since we're going to talk about trash in the next piece. So I know during budget, you said you get a credit for the recycling, correct? Or incentive to recycle more than obviously throw away.
Your tipping fee is reflective of that. If you start making certain percentages towards 30% and more.
So wouldn't it make, and I know I brought it up during the budget process, and it was probably a little haphazard, I'll admit, it was trying to get it in just to try to help accommodate, you know, residents who I know, recycling I hear is still an issue. I know, especially for younger families or people that get a lot of boxes and cardboard boxes and the deliveries at home. I mean, you can order a little can and they send this giant box and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this now aside from rip it up? But wouldn't it make sense, and maybe it's worth exploring and seeing if other communities do it, if there's a way to create a type of grant program where instead of a resident paying the $45 to town, even if it's on a limited basis, first 3 to 6 months, whatever can be determined, we cover some of that cost to help, because we're going to make it up on the tipping fee on the trash side. And, you know, the $45 may not seem like a lot, but in today's day and age, $45 can be a lot to a lot of people. Same with the cost of the bin for the trash. But I'm just wondering if, because we're saving so much in this program, if it's worth exploring, especially if it sounds like there may not be a huge demand for it. But I know in some communities where they have grants and you don't have to pay for your trash bin. I think Warwick did it at one point where there was a grant that covered the cost of the extra bins. So I'm just curious if there's other options out there. That's, I guess, what I'm focusing on.
Oh, if the town council wants to give everybody an extra recycling cart, then you're gonna have to come up with the money in the budget, because I don't have that money in my budget. So this is the alternative I have without the money being appropriated in our budget.
I tried, and I know. I was told we had to have it after the fact. So that's why I'm wondering if now is the time to have that discussion, or at a future meeting.
I know some people have reached out to me and want help learning how to recycle better. I mean, literally, I've gotten quite a few, actually. I think I may have sent one to your office in particular, but that wasn't the only one. So I was thinking that's pretty good. Just the fact that people are interested in learning more about it, and it may not be as cut and dry as we think, and if we can provide maybe another opportunity to look at that and try to, you know, I know it should be self-evident in a lot of cases, but I think a lot of people are not quite sure all the time. And, you know, you see a cart now that has the cover that's like stuffed, you know, and it's like, up a little bit, and,
totally
you know,
open.
so, I don't know if that's possible to do that. I'd be happy to help with that if you would need help with that, you know, to
So,
have
so
another
if
meeting.
anybody has questions on trash or recycling, there's all new information on our website.
Okay,
The
good.
most important two links that are on the website is Rhode Island Resource Recovery. They're the ones that
They do.
make the laws and all the rules for recycling
Right.
and trash. So I tell everyone, I don't know everything about the trash and recycling. Go to Resource Recovery and you'll learn real fast. They have pages and pages of documents and all sorts of information. And then the other link that is used all the time is Waste Management. They're a global company. They handle this every day. They don't get excited about this. So I think the issue early on was that the every other week for recycling. And so now, we're seeing that it's not that big of an issue, but it is for some larger families. So, when I proposed this, the every other week, it was a savings of almost $900,000. Now, if we all want to go weekly, in the next budget year, I don't know if we would have to look to amend this contract, and you can give out all the free carts you want, and you can do away with the $900,000. I was trying to be fiscally prudent in representing how I thought this program would work. And the standard in the industry is a household of 4, and that's what we did. And that's where we came from, and that's where the numbers are. And everything that I propose is backed up by the numbers that Waste Management gives me. So these are just options that I'm throwing out on the table for people who call my office every day requesting another trash or another recycling cart. The bags, that's hopefully something that will go away down the road, because this is a fully automated system. So eventually, the company isn't going to want to pick up yellow bags for the rest of the contract.
Right.
It's a temporary fix right now.
So I have a question. So you're reading what everyone think is the program. So do you have to buy a recycle bin to get a trash bin?
No.
And then, can I go into the next paragraph about the purchasing? Like, how are you gonna manage this? Like, you're saying it's an annual fee.
It's an agreement that we will enter into with that resident.
And how is that gonna be managed?
My office won't manage it. We have people that contact us. We have a list of people who have already contacted us. And we've explained to them how we're going to proceed with this, and they're fine with it. And then some other people are like, no, I think I can manage. And those are the ones we're finding out that really don't need the extra trash.
But I mean, how are you gonna manage the billing? You're saying you're gonna bill them annually, there's no prorations, and if they leave, then they need to return them. Like, how is all that gonna, that sounds like a lot to manage.
That's what I do.
I just wanted to know how it's gonna be managed.
No.
I don't.
My recycling coordinator she has the database that we initially got from finance. That's all there. We have everything, serial numbers on all the carts for every address. I really believe we have a very good system, and it's only 30 days out, and I think things are going a lot better than anticipated.
Okay, so can we get back to the recycling carts? You're asking us for our approval for you to sell recycling carts to people who ask for it, for an additional cart for an amount of $45 for a 64-gallon, or $65 for a 96-gallon. Wow, that's a big cart. Okay.
And that's the same size as what
Right.
you have. And that's a one-shot deal. That's not a yearly fee. That's a one-shot deal.
Right.
Recycling.
Okay. So should we take that first? I'll make a motion that we approve the option to sell recycling carts to residents who request them for the fee of $45 for a 64-gallon cart and $65 for a 96-gallon cart for recycling.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
I'm just gonna go on the record. I'm gonna vote no on this only because I think we should be looking at other ways to cover the costs of the extra recycling. Since we do get the credit on the tipping fee, I hear what the director's saying. I just think there's things we can probably do to cover that cost, whether it's a program we set up, whether it's an external grant. Sounds like there's not a ton of volume, so it may not cost a lot, but if there's things we can do, I would like to see us explore that, but I understand the need.
I also think that it's really, I know it's not your area, but I really feel it amounts, not so much to $45 and $65, but I think just asking people to purchase another cart, it amounts to a regressive tax, because you're asking the people, you're saying that what we have now is based on a family of 4. Well, there's a lot of people in town that have bigger families than 4. And chances are those are the ones who can afford least to purchase the extra cot. So the extra cot should, I feel, they should not have to pay for the extra cot, because the logic, I don't understand the logic that, but we're given one cot fits, size fits all. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the case. There's families that I know of that are large families in town that they don't know what to do with their trash. So what they have now is a second trash barrel, like they're keeping their old trash barrel. And that's like the standby trash. So if there's room that week, then they'll pull a bag out of that standby trash and they'll throw it in that, you know what I mean?
So you're talking trash now.
Trash.
We were just talking recycling.
I know, but
That's
you
what I mean.
can't talk about one without the other, because I'm saying that they're both a regressive tax. Charging for this is, I feel, is a regressive tax.
Find the money.
Well, it wouldn't be $319 a family.
No, I know.
Because it would only be the cost of the cot.
The second paragraph is to stand by itself.
But it is, but it isn't. You can't talk about the first one without addressing the second one.
Well,
because they're both a fee.
If everybody came into my office tomorrow and wanted another recycling and another trash, I just paid $16,000 for 50. So we're gonna have to order, it takes 4 weeks, and all these people now are all waiting for tomorrow for me to tell them yes or no. I honestly don't really care if we charge them or if the town council wants to pay for it, but someone has to pay for it. And it's not in my budget in this fiscal year. I think that's what I'm trying to explain right now. So, hey, I'm all for it. You want to give everybody another cot, that's fine. But just keep in mind now, you give every resident another 64-gallon trash, you're going to probably be going over your cap. Now you're not going to be getting any discounts on anything.
And then we just doubled our trash bill.
Yeah.
But the trash is being produced anyway. So, you're missing that point. The trash is being produced. You're just giving them a means to throw it away.
So I guess this last 4 weeks is not reflective of the decrease in trash.
I can't speak to that, I don't know.
Well, I can. And it is. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you give everyone another trash, your numbers are just going to escalate. You're defeating the whole purpose of the program.
Well, not only that, it's the landfill, it's everything else related to it. I mean, it's a bigger issue, right? So do you think there's a very small percentage of people that would require an additional?
Out of about approximately 4,500 units in this town, I'll probably say 40.
Okay.
So we're not talking this massive number
Right.
requesting this. This is what I'm trying to explain.
If you stuck an extra trash can in front of my garage, we wouldn't automatically produce more trash. So that's what you're saying. You're saying if we stick an extra trash can in front of somebody's house, then they're automatically gonna produce more trash. That's not the case.
Well, yeah, because they probably won't recycle. They're probably gonna throw everything in the trash.
They're throwing everything in the trash.
They can still recycle. They'll have the recycle bins there.
Because it's just easier throwing it in one bin. But we're kind of getting away from this whole thing. I mean, we're in our first year, right? So it's kind of,
It's only been 30 days.
so if we find that we're making money or we're saving money on the tipping fees, then obviously we can roll that out in future years, right?
I think if people are asking you for these, we have to find a way to address this right away.
Oh, there are people waiting
I already went.
by tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay, get a motion and a
So do we have a
second.
motion and a second, Joanne?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier.
No.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
So only those people who want one. They will pay, like, if they had to go to Home Depot and get something before we had these trash things, right?
No, they're gonna get a bin from Waste Management.
The cut
Right,
from.
right, but I'm saying,
was-
they'll get, but they would have had to pay for something before we had this waste management
Right, you're
program.
talking they would have to buy
Right.
another cart
Correct.
somewhere else.
And I think a lot of people are still throwing away recycling.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because they're running out of room in the recycling bin.
Okay.
That's why I was
Yeah,
saying, I think
that is a good point.
you could see it, I think it makes more sense if you're gonna try to incentivize. That's why I thought we should try to incentivize an extra bin for recycling. Because
That's
I
what we
think
just
a
did.
lot of people, yeah.
Isn't that what we just
But
did?
it proved,
Yeah,
it
but
passed,
no
that's why I'm
fee.
saying, I think.
Oh, I see, I
And-
see, I see.
And I think as we go, let's just say for the sake of discussion tonight, at the 6-month spot, if we see that, I know right now how it's going, but in 6 months, it'll give me a clearer picture of, for the next fiscal year, where we might have to, or we can make adjustments, and give people some type of a relief or a rebate. If they paid $45 for a recycling thing, we can maybe rebate them that money back. That's a discussion down the road, once we see how this all washes out. This is all brand new.
Right.
Somebody has to pay the bill. At the end of the day, somebody's got to pay for the overage at the landfill. It's just common sense.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to actually ask the grant writers if there's anything that can assist in environmental issues like this, you know, so who knows?
I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to charge people for something that some people maybe can't even afford. But it's got to be some type of a deterrent to make these people start reducing their trash. I mean, I have pictures of people who are violating this. Like, they're throwing everything in their garage in the trash, and they're throwing it in the recycling. But the most important thing so far in 30 days is we have not had one rejected load.
Oh, God,
Not one.
that's good.
So the program's working. I don't want to jinx myself, I hope.
So is it safe to say if someone calls you and orders one of these, that it'll be delivered to their house like the originals?
Yes.
The original ones were? Okay.
So now, to get into the trash part of it. Residents would be allowed one additional 64-gallon municipal solid waste cart per dwelling per fiscal year. The fee for FY '25 would be $319. The town will invoice the resident the full 12-month cost in advance. No proration will be given if it is determined that if the additional cart is not needed. The residents must need to renew this agreement with the town each fiscal year if needed. The residents must return the cart to the town if they do not need the additional service. This fee could possibly change each year, and that cost is obviously the cost of the carts and what waste management their collection fee, our disbursement fee, and that all goes into that fee.
But if we're buying it, we buy that car, right? And you empty that car. So if we say we don't need that car, we give it back to you, you refund us?
The second one, not the
Okay.
first one. The
Second
first one
one.
is yours. This
But-
is an addition if somebody, like I was saying. we
Yeah,
didn't know-
I want to say I want to order a second one for the trash, not the recycling.
Correct. Right.
And here's the question I keep asking everybody. Garbage is garbage, but we had kind of a pail, like laminated paper, you wrapped it up and you put it in. And that was a separate barrel. Now, I don't want to use plastic bags. From cooking and with vegetables and everything else, I have a lot of trash in it from animal skin, from cooking, and what do you do with it?
Compost.
Oh, forget that.
No, but,
True.
Counselor, are you saying that, I'm not. I don't-
Okay, the garbage, not the recycling.
Right, that goes in your trash.
is
So that goes in your
wonderful.
trash. That goes in your trash.
That goes in the trash. But you can't just throw that in there. You gotta wash everything out.
Well, you should
So
put it
I
in a-
try to get.
You should put it in a bag,
But
plastic bag,
you can use plastic bags?
in your trash.
In the trash.
No plastic bags in your recycling cart.
May I make another point for education on this? Seriously, she may not be the only person that-
Because I'm saying
that
it's
felt
not
like that.
disposable, we're supposed to be all.
No.
There
No,
you
can-
go.
You could put your plastic food scraps and stuff like that in your trash. That's what it's for. Not the tire off your son's car.
No. And watch out, someone is dropping off electrical stuff on my doorstep. Not gonna help. No, I never had anything like that. I didn't even know what it was. Maybe said it was Christmas, but bringing it to you, we're gonna recycle it a second time. And other people are still throwing stuff out all over this place.
Okay, so you want us to vote on the $319?
Yes, after I spoke with the solicitor on this, this was the way we looked at doing this.
That was my next question, so you did, okay, good. I wanted to make sure that we were not gonna have,
Nope, I wouldn't make these decisions without the solicitor's advice.
So question on this, so if someone is having a party, are you still gonna be selling those bags for like a one-time, or
Yep.
they can buy bags to have them as extra?
For trash,
For
yes.
trash,
Yep.
right? And how many, I'm sorry, how many?
I think there's 5 bags and I think $10, I think it is.
So that someone can go buy them at any time and just use them at any time and just
Yes.
put them out with their trash?
Yep. And we also, I've been telling people, and it's especially the people who get a lot of the Amazon, the deliveries, the cardboard, we have this huge recycling container at the highway facility. So some people who are having parties, we've told them to come down, and they can use the cardboard to free up their space, or if they have just additional recycling. And we ask them to come down on Wednesdays when we're open 3 to 6 and Saturdays 8 to 2. And the purpose of that, A, for the safety of the people working in my facility, but the other part is, we started this a couple weeks ago, and fortunately I had my workers watching the people do this, and they were all violating the recycling. They were throwing trash in with plastic bags. So people have to be watched. I guess
Well,
it's
it's
the best
still-
thing.
it's
But
still
it's something to help the people if they have a party on the weekend and they want to get rid of extra recycling. We have that facility to help us out.
or do you have to cut up?
They should be breaking down their cardboard.
Breaking down
to
the
make, I mean,
cardboard,
it frees up more space in
Sure.
that cart.
So I have a question about the trash, since we seem to be all over the place, trash, recycling, trash. So this states that it's not prorated and it's 12 months in advance. So say circumstances change 6 months into the year, it's still $319. Or in June of next year, say all of a sudden I need an extra trash bin, it's still $319 for that 1 month. And then, I just want to clarify.
You get it for the whole year.
You get it for a whole year.
So it's not per fiscal year?
No,
So if you,
the
okay.
319 is for 1 year.
Okay, I just wanted the clarity.
Yeah, so, well, that's a good
That's
point.
a good
Is it
point,
Is
yeah.
it January to December, or is it July to July?
Fiscal, July 1st.
So if I buy it in January of June of next year, just say,
You get
I have
it
to
for
renew
couple
on
weeks.
July 1st.
We probably could look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
you should
So-
have it for 1 full year, so we probably could work that in. Like right now,
Not trying to add complexity to
no,
your
no, no.
management.
So people
I think we made it simple for the FYI 25, for the finance part of it, but if people aren't gonna get them until, let's just call it August 1st, and so now it'll be July 31st.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure most people
Instead
probably
of the
request
fiscal year.
sooner, but there
It's
could be
just-
situations where all of a sudden you need more trash 6 to 8 months in
Yep.
the year.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second?
Oh, my.
Not
Do we
yet.
have a motion,
Not
Joanne?
yet.
No.
No, I didn't.
I'm sorry?
Second.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Second.
We have a second now.
Don't have a second.
We did,
Okay.
We
Claire
do
just
now.
seconded.
I just
Okay,
said
so we have a
We
motion
didn't
and a
have a
second.
second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna reiterate, I think that $319 really amounts to a regressive trash
It
trash
is.
tax. And, we're asking families, probably the ones who can afford it the least, because they're the ones with the bigger families, to pay this extra tax of $319 a year. And, I don't understand the logic of giving somebody with a family of 2, the same allotment as a family of 5 or 7. So we're almost penalizing people for having bigger families, and we're taxing them as a result of it.
Really, I thought they take 2, they're taking it away, but you're getting charged extra for due diligence. You have 2 trash things, it's double. Before, you could have, how many cans are there?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
just
trying to
dumped it.
reduce the trash though, right? So,
Well, we have big families.
Okay, any further discussion?
we'll see how it goes, I think.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
No, just that I think
I know,
we should
I just
continue to
have
look
Ms.
for
Hamilton
grants and other
starting her
opportunities.
motion,
Absolutely.
and then
I know
Claire
that this needs to
seconded.
get approved,
But-
and the
Yeah.
trash is, I think if we incentivize more recycling, may continue to further resolve itself, but it may be worth revisiting if we need to look at things part of the ongoing budget discussion.
Sure, if something pops up in 5 months and you can pay for these additional costs, just keep in mind, the deterrent is to control your trash.
Correct. Well, that's what I want.
And the people that have 1, 2, 3, and 4 people in their families, they're filling half a cot. I'm filling half a cot, a family of 4. So,
I'm a family of 4 and I need both.
yeah, I mean, everybody's different. It's just, I just watch what I put in my trash.
Well, I guess if someone makes a plea to you that they can't afford it, but they need it, can you just let us know?
Certainly no.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Madam President, I need a clarification of the motion because Ms. Hamilton started, but.
Okay,
we
I'll
don't have
make a
complete-
motion that we allow the Director of Public Works to address the issue of additional trash carts, to provide 1 additional 64-gallon cart per dwelling per fiscal year. The fee for FY '25 will be $319, and that would, the town will invoice the resident the full 12-month cost in advance.
Okay, so that's a
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just for discussion, is it possible, I know in the consent agenda, we get like an updated report, maybe like in a month or something, or next time we have one of those, we can get an update of how many requests for recycling and trash. That could be a way to monitor
Yep.
it going
Absolutely.
forward.
Maybe kind of like we have for like fire and rescue, gives us a monthly report. Maybe you can kind of just do something like that.
Yep, absolutely.
See, even if it's 10, even if it's 50 or 100, it's still, those families are still asking, it's still requiring those families to pay more money than everybody else.
Or if they come to your house because you feed everybody, bring the
it's
kids'
like-
neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a million scenarios, yeah.
It's like any service, though. I mean, if you have, like, seniors, they pay taxes and they don't use the schools. You have families that don't have kids and they don't use the schools. You have, there's give and take everywhere. So you can probably look at every scenario and say that, well, that's not right. Well, or we could say, say we have 10 elderly facilities in town. They're gonna say, well, they probably use more fire rescue, right, than other families. It's like everyone uses different services at different times, and this just might be one of those cases that some people need more services than others, and
Well, the flip side to that, what you're saying is, you're right. So families that have no kids in the school pay for the kids that have kids in the schools, just like if you're thinking that it wouldn't be fair to have, if the town paid or somehow or another we picked up the cost of the initial trash, the people who don't need it technically would be covering the cost of the people who need it. Well, you're right, but that's what happens in schools. People don't use the parks, but we tax everybody for the parks.
even something like that, you really can't break out. Here is just, I mean, if someone can't afford it and they need it, then obviously we're gonna do something for that, but it's also would have been another, $400,000 it would have added to the budget. Is that what it was, the difference?
I think it was just under 200 a year,
Right.
each fiscal year.
So that would have been another 200,000 that would have been added, which would have been increasing everyone's taxes, so.
You're looking at it as this current contract. You're not looking at it as the previous contract. So that's what you gotta compare it to. So if we gave everybody a second bin, not everybody who wants one, a second bin, and they produce trash, what would still be the amount of money that they're paying, what the town is paying for trash compared to the previous contract the way we used to do it? It would probably still be less, because everybody used to just throw everything out by the street. It didn't matter. If the basement was flooded, everything got pulled out to the street. So I think that even if we did give people an extra trash bin who required it, it would still be cheaper than the previous contract. Because they're still limited to what they can put in the trash. They just can't throw the kitchen sink in there anymore, like we used to do.
Yeah, but the rejected loads probably weren't included in what our yearly fees were. Those are above and beyond, right? So, I mean, I guess we could go back and forth with this all night long, but if we start seeing the change in the trash, then like you said, as the time goes on, then we can make those adjustments as to,
That's why I think if we can just get a report.
Yeah.
How many
So we
trash,
know,
how many
like-
recycling bins requested, because maybe we can cover the cost of just the bins in the future. And then how many rejected loads, I think that would be helpful, and then, you know, we can look at how does that cost annualized, and how much are we saving on the tipping fees, and then we can figure out if we can put together a program in a couple months to help cover those costs if needed.
Or maybe even
Or
if we
grant money.
came up with a way to subsidize it, because if we did something in the town, suppose like we're gonna build something, and all of a sudden, people's taxes, as a result of that, people's taxes were gonna go up $300. There'd be people at pitchforks, there'd be town, the room would be full of people saying, you can't put our taxes up an additional $300 over this building that you wanna build. But it's the same thing, you call it what you want, it's a tax by any other name, it's still a tax, it's still $319 out of people's pockets.
but purchasing an extra bin is your choice.
It's not.
It's
yeah,
your choice. It's
across
not-
the
They'll
board.
only do it if it's
We're
a
not-
necessity,
we're
they're not
not
gonna do it out of a
forcing you.
luxury, it's not really their choice.
It's all new. Everyone needs to get acclimated
That's right.
to recycling and trash, and I mean, it's only been a month. Like, I don't think we've given enough time for
Right.
people to really get into it, understand it, and
Yeah, I
like you
just
say,
don't think it's a choice. I
we're
think
going from throwing away everything we possibly wanted to now we're thinking about how we're gonna throw things away. So it's a big adjustment, and people right now probably think they need a lot more bins, and then I think as time goes on, they're gonna realize they probably do not need extra bins. And it might be just once in a while where they could just buy some bags and have them at their house. If they need an extra bag that
Yeah.
week, they have
I
one.
think you'll always have your people that need an extra bin. There'll always be those families out there that need an extra bin.
Mhm.
Okay, you have a motion and a second, do you? Yes?
Yes.
I've asked like 4 times.
Just
Well,
one more
let's vote.
question I heard, if there's one thing. The yellow bags, I heard, and maybe it's rumor, maybe it's not, and I want to just for clarity purposes. If you continuously purchase yellow bags, will you be forced to buy an extra bin?
Yes.
I think that's important for people to know.
The yellow bags are just a temporary fix until we get this going for the people who feel the need to get an extra trash.
And like, so like, I'm assuming you guys are tracking who's purchasing yellow bags, right?
We are.
So
We are
if
tracking,
it's-
and the supervisor who goes around on the routes has basically already told me that this eventually will come to an end, because we have hired this company to fully automate, not to manually pick up yellow bags. So, now that we have got to this point after 30 days, I think we're gonna see a decline in the yellow bags, especially after the summertime, once parties start to.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if you have an increase probably over the summers, people need the bags, then it dies down, then you have the holidays, then it dies down. Like, at what point do you say you have to buy an extra bin, if only you're using it for a month of the year?
The people who are coming in for the last 3 weeks asking for the extra bags are the people who are asking to get into this agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
No.
Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one more question? So you said that people that have been calling, you guys have been keeping a list?
Yes.
So, I'm assuming, will you notify those people that this has now been passed? Because I know there's been a whole confusion over this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
What time is it?
Like 9:50.
Discussion by council vote or other action on payment of AIA documents G702 to Dubon Masonry and Construction for improvement to police station. Mr. St. Ange, we have G702 application number 2 and G702 application number 7.
Just looking for approval of payment, for payment of these. You and I received one earlier today, but that's just a signed version of 7.
So it was.
It's the same thing.
It was the same one we had?
Yep, but just
Okay.
Rebecca signed off on it, so
Okay.
it's the same.
So they said, she said that was the final, so that this should be it now, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
according to her email.
So may I ask you if the 130,526 dated 1/9 2024 has been paid?
So my record showed that it has.
Yeah.
Right. So
I
I don't know
remember.
why she sent it to us, but I think if council could just grant me approval, if, just in case it hasn't. But I just looked in my system, and I have a check number. It's
Oh,
been
yeah, I
paid. It was fiscal year
remember
24.
distinctly.
Yep.
Right, right.
So
This is the one
just
that
in
was
case
paid
something
late, right?
happened
Yep.
with, just in case council approval, I can take care of it. But it should be paid according to our records.
Can you just reach out to her and just confirm?
Yeah.
Or to Chris?
Yeah, yeah.
Dubon?
No, I'm gonna let her know that this was, if this all gets approved, I'm gonna let her know that 2 was taken care of, so I don't know why it was sent.
All right, maybe like you say, it's just a signature, but. Okay.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely paid.
I think that was one of the ones that was old.
Yep.
Alright, so, just a confirm
Okay,
motion.
so, do you wanna do one at a time?
So then I'll make a motion to approve application number 2 in the amount of $130,526 dated 1/9/24. That's the first one we're doing?
Yeah, can you just amend that, say, in the event it hasn't been paid?
Yeah, in the event, now amend it to say in the event that it hasn't been paid or needs further resolution.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton. Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
And then I'll make a motion to approve application number 7 in the amount of $42,939.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
And then before we get to open forum, just so we don't have to do it,
Oh, you
in
want
case
to
people
stand?
want to talk, I'll make a motion to extend the meeting starting at 10 o'clock for a half hour.
Okay.
I think so,
Second?
right?
Motion, second. Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. All right, open forum, agenda items only pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum of 3 minutes per person. Anybody like to get up?
Joey Savigny, 1790 Pound Hill Road. Something kind of alarmed me a little bit tonight with the yellow bags. I think the council needs to kind of look into where we go in 9 months from now, 12 months from now, when these people that are using the yellow bags for parties are using them because their bins are already full. What are they going to do in 9 months, 12 months when those yellow bags go away?
Get another bin.
Well, I think that's what we're gonna find out
That's what
as.
we're trying to figure.
But
is
we
that-
were just saying, you're not going to get a bin because you have a couple of parties, but in 9 months, you might not have a choice. So I think the council needs to address maybe looking at getting more bins for everybody. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Gary Osofsky, 88 North Main Street. I came tonight with specific interest to address the reconsideration. Now I think I'm more interested in talking about your policy. You've blocked people from being able to speak to issues. The way that you do this with the non-agenda items first and follow-up, Mr. Savigny's comment might have had an impact on the discussion of the day, but it can't be heard. My concern about your reconsideration item couldn't be heard. I will say now that I'm going to consider myself to file an injunction to stop your action with Signal Works or whatever fictitious name they're operating under now, because I think you violated your own purchasing rules. This is not a sole source circumstance. If that was the basis, it's wrong. You own the documents. It says in their contract, the original contract with Studio Major, upon payment to the architect for its services under this agreement, owner shall have the ownership of the instruments of service for its own future use and benefit, and for the use and benefit of owners, contractors, subcontractors, sub-subcontractors, and consultants, to use, reuse, and reproduce copies of all or any portion of the instruments of service. You own those documents.
You can use them with anybody you like. And what you've done is pushed aside a far more qualified architect that's done dozens and dozens of public safety buildings across New England in favor of somebody that got us into this mess in the first place, with inadequate plans that even he said in his last meeting with you would have to check to see if they complied with code. This many years later, would it end up having to be out of code based on those original drawings? What are we doing? He gave us the budgets that didn't work for any of the stuff that had to be done in this building or that one. You didn't have enough money. It was the ruse that the original bonds put forward that was guided by this gentleman that you're now wading down a path that you don't know the outcome of. You don't know what the project's going to be. You haven't decided yet. You don't know if there's going to be a Sallyport, or if you're just going to paint and paint and carpet, or as some of the terms that were used were certainly misleading. I mean, the idea that we're looking for a half-decent public safety department, that's ridiculous. It's disgusting. We need a real police station. That hasn't changed since 2014. And what we're doing is wading down a path. We're just going to blow money out the door with no value. And that's where this whole discussion has been lost, is that, people say, well, we don't care about how much things cost. Those of us that have been advocating for a good police station do care about what they cost. But we care about what they cost in the long term, not just the short term to say, oh, we held back on the taxes. That's baloney. What we will wind up doing is, going to patch some things, pretty it up for a little while, and then walk away from it. And that's money wasted again. I am beside myself of course, time's up.
Keep going.
Great policies. There was a time in North Smithfield we could speak with our council. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mike Clifford, 489
3 minutes.
Black Plain Road. Yep. Very quickly, I am so tired of hearing Mr. Ozowski and his friends continue to say that Mr. Army from Studio Major gave us the budget. That is not accurate. The budget was done and estimated by the guy we had before who got arrested for taking bribes or giving bribes for his contract. I can't think of his name. Can anybody help me out?
Is it Sakosha?
No. Lives in town, was
yeah,
on the
I don't
committee.
know.
So our Robertson Green Beretta, the architect who worked for them, he's the one who came up with the budget. He's the one who forgot to include the cost of an elevator. He's the one who didn't put in any money for remediation of asbestos. So let's not throw this on Eric, because some people just want a Taj Mahal police station. If they want it, go raise the money for it, or write out a big fat check and be generous and think of other people in the town. I'm getting so sick of this. The same people who caused this problem by hijacking this project in 2016 and assigning a new committee that was absolutely given the task to come back and tell us we need to build new. They didn't follow one iota of the what was required of them in the bond, by the bonds. Kendall Dean, no school department offices in this building. No room built for them. One little room for the whole school department. That's what we voted on. But some people didn't like that idea. And some people didn't want to have offices in the lower level. So some people just did what they wanted to do and held with the voters. It's called betrayal of the public trust. And I'm so sick and tired of that and hearing them come up here and say our police department needs a good build. This is not just a patch and repair job. This is the full renovation if you do it right, and you've done it, and you should do it right. And also, the money that you're paying Mr. Army, you asked him to update and make sure everything was compliant with the code. And that might take him 10 minutes, it might take him 12 hours, I don't know. But also he has to redesign the Sallyport entrance and the entrance for it at the slope. And you had EMA in those plans originally. Now he's got to revise those plans, take EMA out, and put something else in that spot that the chief wants. So if you want to do it the right way, just keep going on the path you are. You're doing it the right way. And let's not let anybody else hijack this project a second time It's an affront to the taxpayers in this town and the voters of this town. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak? We're not going to go back and forth. Go ahead. 3 minutes.
Well, you gotta give.
Yeah. Yeah. How many, how long are you going to be, Mr. Ozowski?
I only want to make one comment.
Can you just finish?
You let him do whatever he wants anyway. I mean, you know, folks, you're justifying the circumstance of doing this, or he's justifying the circumstance of doing this by use of the fund balance. The fund balance I started building up to a reasonable level that you're looking to on his advice, looking to sweep at this point and leave us back in the day that we were when we had management that didn't care about a fund balance. And, you know, you're also, you know, the taxpayer voted and voted and voted. The taxpayers voted on spending about $1 million at the police station. They didn't vote to spend $3, $4, $5 million to renovate a police station, which is what's on the table right now based on what I've heard from Mr. Ami. So, yeah, we can all get upset about what's happened. What we need to do is accomplish a plan that's going to give us long-term value. I'll just keep saying that again and again. I don't care who doesn't like hearing it. Long-term value is what gets this town the best in the long run and in the short run. Thank you.
Anyone else? This is it. After, this is it.
Go again now.
Yeah, I
You
know,
gotta let
no.
him go now.
This is it, though. You go ahead, but
You
then
gotta
we're
let
not,
him
we're not
go
gonna
again,
go
Mr.
back and
Madam.
forth.
Again, you're doing the right thing. Just do it. And it wasn't $1 million. You're spending $5 million now because you didn't kick in the extra $1 million in 2016. They were short the $1 million. And instead of just kicking in the money then, now it's $5 million. I mean, people should be sued here for the people who perpetrated this fraud, because it is a fraud to have maneuvered that and ignored the voters' wishes, should be sued for the money. And they should be paying for this, whatever we do. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anyone else? Executive session, closed session, discussion by council vote or other action pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation or potential litigation. 1, potential litigation. B, discussion by council vote or other action on pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A5. Any discussion, considerations related to the acquisition or lease of real property for public purposes, or of the disposition of publicly held property wherein advanced public information would be detrimental to the interests of the public. A, potential acquisition of land.
I'll make a motion, we move into executive session.
You have a motion?
Second.
Second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.